Hey everyone, welcome to the Kempire Daily YouTube channel. Let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. I know I've been a couple of minutes late, but I had to rewatch this episode of the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion for season 7 a third time. Feel sorry for me. Feel sorry for me. Feel sorry for me. Just because there's so many little things that you miss when you're watching this show that I'm just like, wait, I need to kind of go back and watch. And we will talk more about all the things. Members will get the first opportunity to call in. So if you're a member of the channel, thank you for the support. We will be dropping the call-in link on the community tab in a few. But first, I have to get into some of my thoughts. If you missed it earlier today, I was on Grace Report's channel with Layla Lynn for our weekly collaboration, talking about the Real Housewives of Potomac. So be sure to check that out and go let us know your thoughts in the comments section. Shout out to everyone in the chat, guys. Don't forget to let me know where you are watching from. Don't forget to like the video. I hope you all got to see the little trailer that we had right before this live that should have been playing for you while you were waiting. Just to kind of remind you some of the things that Robyn Dixon and Gizelle have been saying on their press run for their Reasonably Shady podcast. Also, over the weekend, we had some breaking news about, well, not really breaking news, but it was breaking news to us that Michael Darby might be the largest landowner in Somalia. Be sure to check that video out. We took some time doing some research and reading some articles that date all the way back to 2013. So be sure to check that video out. Also, over the weekend, I released a new episode of our podcast, Kempire Radio. Speaking of podcasts, I was also on Bravo We're Black's podcast as well. So be sure to check that out. Run those numbers up. Show them our support. Let's get into a countdown. Don't forget to share the video. Don't forget to share the live. And don't forget to subscribe. Okay, don't forget to subscribe. Let's get into this.
Baby, baby, won't you listen to me? I got that flavor. I know you're dying to feed. I ain't no dancer, just got some hip in my feet. Now throw your hands up. Ooh, you bring the lighter. I got the fuse. You make a fire. I'll add the fuel. Follow me, lead it. Just watch your shoes. Gotta turn the heat up to get this cool.
Hey. Shout out to everyone watching around the country and around the world. Shout out to people watching in California. You guys had a blizzard over the weekend? And New York, we've had balmy weather. Look, I'm not taking that for granted. It's not necessarily a good thing either. First off, before we get into anything, because I already see that there is this picture of Juan Dixon with this other woman that's a director of athletics over at the school that he works for. I've seen the video. I've seen the photo. It was sent to me several days ago. Based on what I could see and what the information was being revealed to me, look, I know there is plenty of solid information about Juan Dixon and his ways. This is not one of them, in my opinion. I needed more proof before I even bring that to you. But for those of you that want to tag me in, photos and no. Based on what I've seen, I've actually seen video of this interaction of them washing clothes for the team because they were on an outing. There is no smoke there. Look, I know you guys want there to be smoke there, but there isn't, at least not with this particular situation. So I just want to address that at the top because I know a lot of you will be waiting for me to do a video talking about this whole situation. I've seen the video footage. All right. I was sent the video footage a few days ago and I was just like, there's just not enough solid proof here. So I just want to point that out. For those of you that might start seeing this photo of Juan Dixon and this director of athletics at the laundromat. So, and now people put a little sauce on the situation, put a little more sauce on the story. No. Look, no. Guys, who are just joining us, this is our second recap of the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion. The second one. So we're going to break this reunion down, and I will be taking your calls because I want to hear what you guys have to say about all the things that transpired in this part 2 of the reunion. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video. It's an easy and free way of not just supporting my channel, but your channel and other channels as well. Exactly, Allison. Allison says, thank you. That receipt was not receipting. And that's the thing. You guys would be shocked at all the things that are sent to me that I just don't report on because it doesn't make sense. And that's when I reported on the Michael Darby situation, there were literal media outlets like the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post that had articles of him confirming this property that he has in Somalia. So look, I'm not a journalist. I'm going to point that out, and I'm going to remind you guys, I'm not a journalist. However, there is a level of integrity that we conduct ourselves over here. Just saying. And yeah, and I know you're thinking, you are just saying. Anyways. All right. We're gonna focus on this reunion though. But I wanted to address that because I know a lot of you love to tag me and keep me alert. And I appreciate that because I can't be all the things and be everywhere. But I just wanted to let you guys know. All right. All right. Oh, for those that are wondering, this artwork is called the Melanin Lisa. Right? Come on. Happy Black History Month. The Melanin Lisa. The Melanin Lisa. And you can't really see it. I'll take a picture of this and share it on my socials so that you can see because it looks even better. Maybe if I take my, look. Look, can you see it better? No. All right. I'll take a picture, guys. But happy Black History Month. Black History Month is almost over, guys. Tomorrow's the last day. Oh. But I hope you took the time out to really learn something about Black history. Because Black history is not just American history, it is global history. There's a lot to learn. And as we did yesterday, talking about the things that are happening in Somalia and the African continent, we are always learning. We are always learning about what's happening over there with our brothers and sisters. But happy Black History Month. Shout out to everyone. Shout out to our King's Guards. We couldn't do this show without our King's Guards. So be sure to say hello to the King's Guards and show them some love and respect. I'm going to get into this episode. So at the top of the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion part 2, we have Candace and Gizelle addressing the whole, Chris situation. And Candace is just like, what exactly did he do to you? And Gizelle says, he made me uncomfortable. This is what Gizelle says. And I told you, it's a fine line. It's a fine line, and I get why production try to kind of handle this situation very sensitively, because you can't determine if Gizelle felt uncomfortable or not, okay? And if she was just using this to manipulate a storyline, even though it's very apparent to us as an audience watching this based off her past behavior. But as a business, as a company, as an organization, they can't have those types of opinions, okay? So they go back and forth on this. And at one point, Gizelle says, because they're trying to flesh out what exactly made you uncomfortable. What did he do to make you uncomfortable? And she says, at this point, these are semantics. And Candace was like, no, it's not about semantics. And it really isn't. Anyone else felt a little enraged when she referred to it as semantics? No, girl, we want to look. If there was something that he said or did that made you feel uncomfortable, okay. I still don't feel like they fleshed out what exactly happened, but Andy does. He's like, let's move on. When Chris comes out, we will address it. So next week, they will be addressing specifically what happened, what led up to them having this conversation in her hotel room, which was also like her dressing room when they were filming the reunion. Okay. What was the other thing that she meant? Okay, so it goes from the conversation between Gizelle and Candace to Candace and Ashley's friend, Deborah, and her allegations. According to Ashley, she said she was surprised that Deborah's lies, or whatever you want to call it, did not match up with what we saw on camera. But she says that Deborah still is saying that, well, she believes that producers dubbed her voice. In all fairness, we literally talked about how producers on other shows have done this. We talked about this with the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, when they don't show the face and you don't see the lips moving, but you hear the voices. But even if you hear the voices based off what you said, Chris said, and what was the audio of what Chris said, doesn't match up, Deborah. And Ashley, based on what we know about you and your behavior on this show, you're not a credible witness either. And I said this earlier. I said Monique should have thought better on who she had as her witness, writing a character letter. Because would you go to court with a character letter from Ashley Darby based on what you know about Ashley Darby? If this was actually a trial, Miss Esquire, you're in the building. I would bring up every instance on how Ashley Darby is not a credible witness. Where's my... what? I don't even know which one I want to press. Wait. Look. I would bring up every instance on how Ashley Darby is not a credible witness. And Deborah, I honestly, look, I wish they would have skipped over the Deborah situation and didn't spend as much time as they did on the Deborah situation. Why didn't they address the other housewife on this cast, Mia, in regards to her allegations that were debunked during the season? Why didn't they bring up that? Oh, I saw him looking at me from the corner of my eye. Why didn't we play that moment? She's actually there. Don't get Deborah wants this. She wants us to be talking about her. No, let's talk about who's actually here, who's a part of the cast, and who actually was caught in the lie. Leave Deborah where she's at home, wishing she was at the reunion. Woo, 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 Deborah. Woo, woo, woo. Why didn't we address that? Mia and her lies. Oh, wait, too many lies to keep up? To keep up with? Too many lies to keep up with when it comes to Mia. Too many lies. And this is why, after I watched it for a third time, these other thoughts come in. I was like, wait, why didn't they address that? Why didn't they address Mia and her lies and her being caught out there? However, in all fairness, the editors did multiple times point out that nothing was here. And they had to address Ashley's friend. They probably felt that was the juicier story because it was very clear Mia was lying and she has a history of lying. Oh, Mia. All right. At one point, they bring up the whole, the Bluetooth speaker incident that happened. Was that Mexico? I can't even keep up with the trips at this point. It was Mexico, where Robyn pulls out the Bluetooth speaker and she plays Candace's IG Live. And a lot of you watch the IG Live, which is still available on Candace's Instagram. It's still available there. Miss Esquire says Mia is a lying liar who lies. Wait a minute. Damn. Nash says Mia's lies aren't shocking and not expected. Well, we really shouldn't be expecting someone to lie. Right? Right? Look. So Candace and Robyn go back and forth. And this is where you're starting to see the cracks in Candace's and Robyn's relationship. And Candace points out, she's like, I said a lot of really great things about you. And one of the videos that I did last night immediately after I watched the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion was how much of a hypocrite, lying mother father Robyn Dixon is. If Mia's a liar, Robyn is a liar too. She was a big liar in this reunion. Did you guys notice that? And this confirms to me all the lies she's been telling us about the Juan situation. She's a pathological liar and a hypocrite. Last week, it was about, can we all agree that a married man should not be in a hotel room with a single woman? And then we were like, Robyn, this did not age well for you immediately. And then this week, she has the audacity to say to them, well, I don't know why you guys always want all these things off camera. Everything needs to be on camera. And then we come to find out you're intentionally leaving something off camera. Girl. She literally says when we're filming, everything we do should have been on camera. It's her justification on bringing this IG live that Candace did to the table, to the group, because she felt like that Candace was attacking the entire group. Wendy says, I leaned over to Candace in that moment and she's like, oh, this is the person you trust the most? Because she brings up what we've been saying. A lot of you have said, why does Candace not support Wendy in a bigger way? And I'm glad they addressed it. And she said, I've known Robyn longer. It's very clear, despite that, her loyalty will always be to Gizelle. And here's why. In my opinion, her loyalty is to that check. And Juan has allowed her to continue this fake storyline, in my opinion, allegedly. Continue this fake storyline. Yeah, he's my man, blah, 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 blah. And Gizelle has helped her stay on the show as well countless times. She would have been off the show she wouldn't have even been on the show without Gizelle. But her staying on the show is because of Gizelle. So that's why she will ride and be Gizelle's soldier for ever how long it is. And producers, it's all your fault. Look, it's all your fault, producers, for allowing Gizelle to have that much influence. And I know they always say, oh, the housewives don't have influence. Lies you tell. Lies you tell. We see it across the franchise. These housewives do have an opinion and influence when it comes to casting. All right. So speaking of Gizelle. So Gizelle's package, her segment is played. And we see all the things that she got into throughout the season. We also talk about her health. But they also talk about their podcast. Do you guys believe that the podcast is doing this well? So they have, 80 episodes and 4 million downloads. I believe that it is doing that well. I do believe that. And partially because it's on a major network, iHeartRadio, the Black Effect Network. So that alone is being pushed out. It wasn't lost on me when Robyn says, she's like, we never even listened to a podcast before this. And Wendy was like, that's not wise. And she was like, well, we did. Stop hating. Well, the reason why Wendy's saying that is because as a smart business person, as a smart person, you should do your due diligence and understand what a podcast is and how a podcast works. I mean, every once in a while, and luckily for Robyn, they already had a huge platform to promote Reasonably Shady. If they didn't have RHOP, those millions of downloads would not be there. You think people are just going to be checking in for Robyn Dixon? Just saying. And if they don't continue to be on the show, trust and believe Reasonably Shady won't do well. Who's listening to that anyway? The only time that's ever made news was recently when she revealed that she knew about the Juan Dixon situation. And when our girl Grace Report pointed out when they made those colorist comments about James Harden eating fried chicken and watermelon. Again, an example that should have been brought up during the colorism conversation. But we'll get back there. So before we even dig deep into Gizelle's story, because Gizelle doesn't have much of a story, we start off with Robyn and them talking about the podcast. Then we go into Karen possibly copying Gizelle and the live shows. Do we believe that Karen probably copied the live show? Yeah. But in all honesty, Robyn and Gizelle doing a podcast live show is nothing new. It's nothing new. All the podcasts have been doing it for years, even before the pandemic. There really isn't anything new under the sun. But the funny part about this, and this is why people love Karen, is the fact that she's just a humana. She doesn't even make sense, and I think that's almost intentional because it's just true to her character, and just like smoke and mirrors that she loves to do. I don't believe that Karen wasn't inspired by them doing a live show. She's like, well, if they could do a live show, so can I. And we agree. If you had to choose between Karen's live show And exactly. Ashley says, I saw the read live in 2015. Exactly. There have been live shows for a long time when it comes to podcasts. Brilliant Idiots have had live shows for years. The Friend Zone, live shows for years. Okay? They're not the first, and they won't be the last. But trust and believe, I don't really hear people saying that they're going to the Reasonably Shady live podcast live show. And even before them, wasn't Monique doing live shows for her podcast? Remember Monique Samuels? I mean, she was paying for all of it, but still. She was doing it before them, so maybe they were inspired by Monique. Bloop. Exactly. Patrice says Karen made sure to put her promo in for the Philly show too. But didn't the Philly show happen? It already happened, so technically the promotion would have been better if it was, you know what I mean? But whatever. Yes. Replay crew, if you had to choose between the Reasonably Shady podcast live show and Karen's, which one are you going to? I'm going to Karen's. You know why? Because it really is a variety show. You're not just getting Karen. You're getting a maybe like a 90s singer. You're getting comedians. You're getting drag queens. It really is a variety show. And Andy Cohen, I get it. You're talking about in the realm of housewives, but it's. I just don't like when Andy tries to make it seem as if everything is around housewives and that everything that they do is surrounded by other housewives. Okay. Countess Luann and Friends, Countess and Friends. That's not the first variety show of all time. So you using that as your example for Karen and her variety show? No, I really do believe that Karen may have been inspired by Gizelle and Robyn, not Countess, not Countess. Okay, but I'll leave that alone. I'll leave that alone. Okay. Where do I want to go? Okay, so this is we're still talking about Gizelle's whole package here that they're talking about in this particular moment. And everything else is about everyone else. You notice that? So then we get to Gizelle talking about how her storyline about her fibroids and things like that in surgery, which that really wasn't her storyline. We got a scene talking about that. And then another scene with her telling her daughters about the surgery. That was not her storyline for the season because that was very, in comparison to the rest of the season, that was less than 5% of her story for the season. So she talked about how this was a story that a lot of people related to and a lot of people reached out to her. This is when we found out that Gizelle Bryant has a sister. Gizelle Bryant has a sister. And apparently a brother. I had no idea. Did you? At first, I was like, maybe when I first saw the clip, I was like, well, maybe everyone else knew that she had a sister. Maybe I'm the only one that didn't realize she had a sister. Nope. Everyone in the audience were like, she has a sister? Wait a minute. And look, I understand where she might not want to share her family because her family didn't sign up for the show she did. So her extended family, I get, may not want to be on the show. But at some point, you could have mentioned your sister and your brother. Okay, a lot of people didn't know. We should do a poll on that. Speaking of polls, guys, don't forget we have put a poll in the Kempire Daily YouTube live chat. So I want to know how you guys would rate this part 2 of the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion. So she also talks about, we found out that she has a sister, but she also says that there were complications. So a 3-hour surgery went from 3 hours to 8 hours, and then she had to end up spending the night. And she had already told her girls that she wasn't going to spend the night. She was going to come back, and her girls were very concerned. She gets very emotional. She even tries to shut down the conversation. It says to me, the fact that she tries to shut down conversation in season 7, it to me is a tell. Anyone else notice this? It's a tell to me. The fact that she feels that she could shut down a conversation, it says a lot. You know, because I never necessarily believed, I know a lot of you believe that she has a lot of influence on Andy and that, you know, they always listen to her. I didn't 100% believe that until that particular moment. Did she really believe that she could shut down a conversation? Does she really believe that? But Andy was like, you're not going to tell me what to do on camera. You do that off camera. So Andy's like, no, we're going to continue. Because she's like, let's talk about that later. When? What later? Next season? No. Look, no. And look, she got really emotional about it. And it wasn't lost on me, Candace's little side comments. Because she was when Gizelle says, you know, a lot of people reacted to this story on social media to me, like the most. And she was like, it was because it's the first time you've ever been real. It's true. It's true. There were a few Candace side moments that stood out to me. Of course, they're talking more about her dating. They're talking about this Jason, you know, from the Winter House, and Andy even says to Gizelle, "So if you guys are still dating in season 8, will we see him?" She was like, "Sure." Yeah, because it's not real. I don't believe this relationship is real. I believe Jason and Gizelle have come up with an agreement. He wants some more time on Bravo. He's already in a Bravo contract. When Winter House is not filming, or if it is filming, they'll fit in time for him to be on the show. He's willing to be her man for the show. I don't believe anything from Gizelle Bryant anymore. Ever since they tried to attack Sherman, someone who I believe she really wanted to be with, she decided at that point, or as Grace said earlier today, her villain, what did she say? Her villain origin story. I was like, not her villain origin story. That's when she decided, I'm no longer going to share my relationship on this show. Was after Sherman, and they tried to attack that relationship. She said, never again. And then she just started attacking everyone else's relationship. When Gizelle, hear me out. Because I know you don't watch the videos, you don't watch the blogs, whatever. You're right. Hear me out, though. I know you look at this show as just entertainment, but it is real life entertainment. And everything you do on the show is going to be karmic for you, even off the show. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Okay. So more than likely, don't be surprised. First of all, Jason's good looking. I'm not going to deny that. Sidebar, congratulations to Michael B. Jordan. Did you guys see his Calvin Klein ad? I know it's a sidebar, but he looks so good. Good. I mean, he's good looking in general. But you know what they say about good looking people. Look. We'll talk more about those side conversations tomorrow during our Tuesday takeover, guys. That's where we cover a variety of reality shows, including Below Deck. We'll be talking about 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way, and I'm including Love and Marriage DC. Love and Marriage DC. I watched the episode. No, I'm going to start including it for our Tuesday takeover. And although I do love the other shows on Tuesday takeover, I'm just adding Love and Marriage DC in there so we can cover the show. I don't know. The season's not hitting for me. At least not this past week. It can always change. Oh, we also have to talk about Family Karma. To me, Family Karma was even better than Real Housewives of Potomac last night. We were boo-hooing. We were watching Family Karma together. We'll talk more about Family Karma, that beautiful wedding, the beautiful story, the funny moments, all of that tomorrow during our Tuesday takeover at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 a.m. PST. All right. Okay. So we have Gizelle's situation. Don't be surprised next season if you see Jason on the show, and that will be her storyline. He's already met her daughters. And some people have feelings about that. I leave that up to the parents. You decide on whether or not your children will meet, you know, the person that you are dating. I believe she's introduced them to the kids because she's like, this is a friend. This is nothing else. All right. Speaking of Gizelle, before we move on. So when we did Tuesday Takeover last week, I talked to you. When we did the Miami recap, I talked to you about Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip. And one of the scenes between Candace and Gizelle says, I lied for you. And I wasn't sure when I first heard it. I thought she said, I lied for you. And then Bravo and Peacock released the trailer with their own edited captions. They've added the captions. And they confirmed that she says, I lied for you. So I want to hear the context about that on Ultimate Girls Trip. Because we all thought she said, I lied for you. And I was like, no, but the caption says, I lied for you. And I wouldn't be surprised. We shall see. Ultimate Girls Trip, March 23rd or something like that. Stay tuned for that. So moving on from Gizelle, we will get back to her. Wendy's package. So Wendy, as you know, struggled with her health this season. And she says, you know, she had to change her diet. She also had to drink a gallon of water. Let me take a sip. Because of kidney stones. I heard kidney stones, for some people, they say it's worse than giving birth. I don't want to know. God bless the women that give birth, because I can't even imagine. All right. Okay, so she's working on her health. This leads to her issues with Mia and what happened in Miami. All right. I didn't realize how hurt Dr. Wendy Asefo was from what went down in Miami. I don't blame her for being hurt. But because she does give off this strong exterior, I was like, wow, she broke down during this reunion when speaking about it. She says, you assaulted me. And the fact that we're a year later and Mia has no remorse. And the fact that Andy Cohen and none of them decided in this moment to condemn Mia's behavior is shocking to me. Anyone else? Because they've done it before. They did it on Real Housewives of Atlanta, which leads to more conversation about how this cast is treated differently and other white casts are treated differently versus Atlanta, who has darker skinned women. But we will get to the colorism conversation because I have plenty of thoughts. Okay. So Mia and Wendy discussed the Miami trip. Andy says that he doesn't understand why Mia got as mad as she did to throw a drink, to hit her with her purse. And Mia still doesn't get it. She still doesn't get it. And again, this was an important point for them to point out. We don't accept that behavior, Mia. That's unacceptable behavior. But they didn't. But this is when Mia has some shocking claims that Dr. Wendy Asefo may have slept with Peter Thomas. And she says that, she gave him the cookie and I have proof. And some of you said during the collab that we had earlier with Layla and Grace that the reason why Dr. Wendy Asefo's reaction was tame, because I know some of you probably would have been like, oh, hell no, I didn't sleep with him. But some of you were saying like she didn't want to give her that energy. And Candace chimes in. She's like, I don't know why you guys are so flippant. I'm adding that word, flippant, with the accusations that you just to throw out there when people are in marriages with children and family that are watching this. But Dr. Wendy Asefo has gone on social media to deny any allegations of sleeping with Peter Thomas. It wasn't lost on me when Wendy says, you're effing for lobsters, and then they play Mia at the strip club with the lobsters. The editors were having fun this episode, and for me it worked. You know, I've been critical of them and some of the things that they edited this season, but it worked in this episode. It did what it was supposed to do. All right. And I'm briefly going over some of these areas, guys. I will revisit, especially when you guys call in and share your thoughts on the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion part 2. For those that are a part of the replay crew, thank you for being here. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to let me know where you're watching from. Don't forget to let me know how you would rate this episode and your thoughts on the episode and things that stood out to you. All right. So it continues with Wendy and Mia later on in the episode. But I found that back and forth with them, and especially when Dr. Wendy Asefo got emotional about what Mia did to her. Everyone on that cast should have been held accountable for their reaction. That it leads to a conversation about Robyn's reaction. You know how Robyn started filming during that situation and called Wendy an antagonist. They also showed some footage that we didn't see before in regards to a conversation that happened between Wendy and Robyn in that moment. And she was like, if you're going to fight, Robyn was like, if you're going to fight her, Wendy, fight her when the cameras are down. Don't fight her now. And she felt as if by Wendy saying things to Mia, she was antagonizing her. And Dr. Wendy says, well, no, look, I appreciate what you said in that moment, but I also think that you were wrong for filming this and laughing and hyping up the situation. Robyn, there is nothing that Robyn can say right now that I'm going to believe, because it's been proven multiple times in this reunion alone how much of a liar and a hypocrite she is. So I can't even if I wanted to defend you, Robyn, I already defend you at the top of this with the fake receipt that's coming out right now with the athletic director. You're lucky I have integrity, but you have none. Look, you lies, the lie. You have no integrity yourself. So Wendy and Robyn kind of go back and forth on that and on, who was antagonizing that situation. And then it turns to Karen, and Karen's like, don't bring me in your mess. And she's like, why are you coming? Well, because you brought me in your mess. And again, we said this back then during the Miami trip. Why exactly was it Karen's responsibility to diffuse that situation? She didn't start the situation. These are grown women. At least she wasn't doing what you guys were doing, antagonizing the situation. You want to call Dr. Wendy itself someone that was antagonizing the situation. No, you guys were. And the hypocritical behavior on this cast, and I know people in the comment section debate, what Monique did versus what Mia did is different. And literally, you have Gizelle saying that what Monique did was beat Candace down. Yes, the level of severity was a lot higher, but it's still violence. And the fact that you guys can't see the not you guys, but this cast see the difference or see the similarities in this situation and see your own hypocrisy, but it's very clear. Gizelle literally says, "Oh, I don't like Wendy, so this is why I can't agree with her." You do realize it doesn't work that way, right? You can't not like someone and understand the difference between right and wrong, or understand what fact is versus fiction. Because just because I don't like someone, if there's something that's fact versus fiction, there are plenty of people that I don't like. And I say it here on the channel. Don't like, you know what I mean by that. None of these people we know. But, okay, perfect example. I don't like Robyn and her lies on this show. But when someone sends me a receipt of Juan Dixon, that to me doesn't make any sense. There's no legitimacy to it. I'm not reporting on it, or I'm going to let you guys know I don't believe this story. But if I went by the rule book of Robyn and Gizelle, well, I don't like them, so I'm going to report on it. I'm going to drive that nail home. But I always tell you this. It's not that I don't like any of these people. I don't know any of these people to have any true feelings towards any of them. But by their level of morality and justification, that's the way I should do it, right? So based off of that, since we don't like Gizelle and Robyn, everything that comes out about them, I'm just gonna always be team blah 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 blah. But that's not how we work here, because I can't. I could never. Let me say thank you. We had quite a few super chats. Thank you guys so much for the super chats. We appreciate it. And shout out to all of you that sends in super chats, Venmos, PayPal's, Cash Apps, or like the video, share the video, or send super chats after the live. We appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We appreciate all of the support. Guys, we have almost 2,800 people watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter. We have quite a few people watching on TikTok. Shout out to our TikTok fam. We had a watch party last night. Stephanie, thank you so much for the super chat. Stephanie says, hey, Kemp, can't wait to hear your thoughts. I just watched the panel and I love how y'all hit the most important points. Thank you, Stephanie. We appreciate that. And don't forget, guys, we will be on Layla's channel next week for the finale of RHOP reunion and season. Not Sharice is back. You will always say in my mind. Sharice, thank you so much for the super chat. Sharice says, I'm ready for Jacqueline. I want her back to check Mia. Okay. I think she will make an appearance back. I don't think she will be full-time. But I definitely think she'll be back. Cassie, thank you so much for the super chat. Hold on. Let me move the Black History Month so you guys can see. Okay. Cassie says, Gizelle makes Virgos look bad. She must be on the cusp with the lying Libras. Oh, not the Libra slander. Oh, damn. Yeah, sometimes that's why it's important to know your rising and your moon, because it really changes a personality. Thank you so much, Amanda, for the super chat. Amanda says, I'm watching from South Africa. Love your show. Thank you so much, Amanda. We appreciate you. What time is it in South Africa right now? Houston Foodie, thank you so much for the super chat. She says, if you listen to the podcast, you know, you know her, sis. Okay, but you know, she's doing a whole reality show. Again, another reason why Bravo needs to put her in check. And like, you're sharing all of this on your podcast and not on the show. That's a problem. That's a problem. JJ, thank you so much for the super chat. JJ says, supposedly dating 3 people, but had to seek out a man. Ooh. Gizelle. Mm-hmm. Stephanie, thank you so much for the super chat. Stephanie says, I cannot for the life of me how Gizelle can call herself a Christian by saying that she basically condoned Mia's assault on Wendy when Gizelle says, I don't care about you. That's why a lot of you say you can't imagine her being your first lady. You can't imagine her being your first lady. Let me save this. Hold on, y'all. Again, guys, I'm going to try to get to all of the super chats. If I miss your super chat, I will double check at the end to make sure I've gotten to everyone's super chat. Ashley, thank you so much for the super chat. She says, I couldn't watch this reunion episode. I really have lost hope for RHOP. P.S. Wendy no longer has a RHOP in her bio. I mean, there are a lot of rumors going around about who's coming back, who's not coming back. Sometimes they do this because you also know in your Instagram bio, you don't have a lot of space, but a lot of you are saying, why would she take that one out specifically? A negotiation tool? I don't know. Sometimes that happens. But thank you for letting me know. Dr. Wendy Estefan has taken her RHOP out of her bio. TB, thank you so much for the super chat. TB says, it's concerning. Hold on. It's concerning that we already are accepting pre-produced storylines from Giz for next season. Have we learned nothing? Exactly. The producers shouldn't be accepting any of this. It's like as if it was encouraged, and this is why they want to keep talking about it during this reunion. Like, I don't believe that there's anything real happening here between Gizelle and this man. I don't. All right. We'll get back to Jizzy in a second. All right. One of the other hypocritical moments that Robyn says during this reunion was about retaliation. Because you know she was saying a whole other thing during the Monique season. Oh, okay. Thank you guys. Thank you. See how y'all be bringing misinformation, fake news. Fake news. A lot of you are saying, no, she hasn't. It's still there. Why y'all? Maybe she did take it out for a hot second. See, don't be bringing me the fake news, okay? This is why I always double check things for myself. Thank you, Candace. Candace says, RHB is still in Wendy's bio. Thank you. All right. Nia, thank you so much for super chat. Wendy still has RHP in her bio. Thank you. Tatiana, thank you, says no Kemp. Wendy still has RHP in her Insta bio. That's why I say I will not believe any of these things until it actually happens. Like you probably noticed that normally I don't report on when they remove it from their bio unless there's more information. Unless there's more information surrounding confirming that sort of information. Okay. Iffy, thank you so much for the super chat. Iffy says, I think it's time for Gizelle to exit the show because she's the root of the toxicity, mean girl behavior, gaslighting, colorism, deflection, and lies. Trust me, the show will survive and thrive without her. I mean, I honestly agree. A lot of people give her a little too much credit because when you think about this season, what exactly has she done? She hasn't even been a source of fun. Just saying. Look, don't get me started. All right. So Robyn, again, another hypocritical moment. Another hypocritical moment where Robyn says that everyone has a right to retaliate the way that they want. And then immediately I thought to myself, well, that's not what you were saying about Monique. And I know some people really believe that the whole Monique situation and the Mia situation are different. The severity might be different, but it's still acts of violence on this show. Still acts of violence on the show. And this was a lot of the Monique, Team Monique folks were saying, is that you can't tell people how to react in a moment. Would I have preferred Monique not do what she did? Of course. Of course. But again, according to Robyn, you can't tell someone how to retaliate. And then it wasn't lost on me because a lot of you have been putting the pressure on the producers. Well, Robyn has been aggressive multiple times, and you pointed out all of those moments. And so the producers and the editors inserted all of that. They inserted all the times that Robyn was a little. However, they didn't insert the restaurant one when she came in and was all up in Ashley's face. Or did I miss that? Because there was so many moments with Robyn. Just saying. Look. Okay. Andy also discusses Ashley and Gizelle's hypocrisy in regards to Mia's behavior. And Ashley defends herself in regards to how she wrote a letter for Monique. And she points out the other women's behavior and reaction to what went down with Mia and Wendy. Again, Wendy breaks down talking about that. She says that, that was effed up what Mia did to her. And Mia still did not even apologize in that moment. And then did you guys notice that Gizelle points out, well, didn't you guys hook up in Mexico? Gizelle, first off, that was in Mexico. That is weeks apart. And that was after Mia gave her this apology. Did you guys notice that? Like, Gizelle, mind your business, because your justification for her doing what she did is another slap in the face of your hypocrisy. I was just like, first of all, it's not as if that happened right after each other. Those are two separate trips, weeks in between, and there was an apology before that. But I did love that Mia was just like, girl, we all show each other our JJs, and, anything can happen with tequila. She was really broken up about it. And the other element that we always forget is that it's different when these things happen when it's not on reality TV and it's just in our lives. It's disgusting. But there's this other element of, this is playing out on television. This is embarrassing. Everyone's reacting to this on social media. So I'm sure there is a level of, first of all, she's on MSNBC. She's speaking in front of classes, and people are talking about this and probably looking at her like, oh, shoot. And there were a lot of people that felt as if Dr. Wendy should have reacted differently, that she should have, did what she felt in that instance. So, what else did I want to say about this? Hold on, let me save this, y'all. Guys, if you're just joining us, don't forget to like the video. It's an easy and free way of supporting the channel. We have almost 3,000 people watching our recap of the Real Housewives of Potomac. That is not lost on me. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to hear what I have to say about RHOP. So let's talk about colorism. And we're going to talk more about colorism than they did on this reunion. I timed it. It was like 5 to 6 minutes. So Andy first starts off. Andy, you watch the podcast? Look at the podcast. You watch the YouTube channel? No. There are plenty of creators talking about this and saying that they need to address. A lot of you have been in Andy's comments. A lot of you have been in the producers' comments and hashtags, letting them know we need to address colorism on this show. But if you look at the comment section of when this is discussed, our own community doesn't believe that there's colorism on this show. So Andy starts off this conversation on colorism, and he says, I as a white man, should not be moderating this conversation. Yet he's sitting in the chair, although not saying anything. is overseeing this conversation. So I did see your comments last night. I did post a couple of videos on my TikTok talking about my initial reaction to this conversation on colorism. The colorism conversation was far too short. And I know producers, even if it was longer, people probably would still felt that it was short. The conversations on race and colorism, it's not just a conversation that you could be done with, Gizelle. Because Gizelle really wanted to be done with it. She doesn't want this to come up again because she doesn't want to address, because the real colorism conversation is focused on her, Robyn, and Ashley and Mia. So according to Andy, the producers and he discussed this, and they decided to ask the ladies what they thought in regards to bringing in a moderator. And he says that they decided not to bring in a moderator and that the ladies would discuss it amongst themselves during the reunion. And to me, as a former HR professional, is that wasn't a responsible decision. Because, and they pointed this out earlier when we were talking about it with Layla and Grace, is that the majority of this cast is light-skinned women. So their vote already outweighs the two dark-skinned women. All of that aside, as an organization, they should have brought in a moderator. And I'm not talking about just someone that works for NBC Universal that, you guys just want. No. I'm talking about someone that does this work, that knows the nuances of what is being discussed, that will watch these episodes and bring up all of the instances of colorism. You put the pressure on Candace and Wendy to carry these conversations. And yes, we want to hear their thoughts because they were the ones to bring it up. We want to know how they feel. However, they shouldn't be the ones forced to lead the conversation and to explain everything in regards to this. A moderator would have been best in this instance. But I believe Andy wanted to address it because we were already pointing it out. And the reason why it wasn't in the trailer, remember we talked about how colorism wasn't discussed in the trailer for the reunion? That's because it was a minute part of the reunion. It literally was 5 to 6 minutes. 5 to 6 minutes in the reunion. But I was completely shocked. Anyone else? I was completely shocked when Karen Huger was the voice of reason. Karen Huger was the voice of reason in this situation. She talked about how her family bought the plantation that they were slaves on. And she pointed out in regards to Ashley, trying to justify, because although Ashley owned it in the moment, she's like, I own my privilege. Here's the thing. Remember Ashley released that Instagram story talking about, there is no colorism on the cast. I am not a colorist. And da, da, da. You guys got up in her comment section. I think she was like, okay, well, maybe. Hopefully she learned from what you guys were saying in the comments. But for me, Karen, I was just like, come on, Karen. She broke it down for Ashley. And she's like, you know what? You may not feel like there's colorism on the cast, but colorism it's not just, it can be covert, the colorism. And a lot of you have pointed the covert colorism that is on this cast. But the way she broke it down, she's like, here's the thing. This is how you could understand where Candace is coming from, by listening to her. And one of the things that I pointed out earlier when I was speaking with Layla and Grace is that they don't understand how this also relates to what Gizelle was saying. I felt uncomfortable. So you want us to all respect how you felt, but you do not want to respect how your other castmates feel, Candace feels, or Wendy feels when it comes to colorism. Both her and Robyn were quite silent. Even Mia chimed in, pointing out, I'm raising brown-skinned girls. I've never been accused of this in my entire life before. Of course, Gizelle wanted to chime in. I'm raising brown-skinned girls, so you should even be more diligent in understanding. Because here's the thing, as someone of a lighter complexion, very much like how we talk about white people, they will never understand the experience of racism that Black people experience because of their color. It's the same thing. So if your castmates, no matter how you feel about them, are telling you that there is stuff that's happening on this show that is making me feel uncomfortable, you should pay attention. And look, and I'll point this out because some of you will be like, well, Kempire, you didn't feel like there was colorism last season. This is how we all learn and grow. After I also was a part of a panel, shout out to Scotty by Nature, and we were talking about colorism and experience of that. You learn, you grow, and we have to provide space for everyone. And I think we've provided a lot of space for Gizelle, Robyn, Mia, and this cast to grow and learn when it comes to colorism. But in that moment when we discuss this, Gizelle, she still doesn't understand. I didn't love the example that Candace used, but here's the thing. It shouldn't have been on Candace to bring up the example because there were plenty of examples this season alone. This season alone. Producers, I know you watch. Hey, they do. They told me. Come on now. They told me they watched. Producers, if you're watching this one, because I know you probably have you want to know people's reaction to the colorism segment. You failed us. You failed us. You know why you failed us? You should have had a moderator. These last 20 minutes of the show should have been about colorism. That should have been made a priority. I know you want to make sure you cover every instance. We could have talked about Jacqueline next week. We gave Jacqueline the 5 to 6 minutes when we didn't need her to have those 5 to 6 minutes. There were a lot of instances that they could have brought up. The alienation of Dr. Wendy this season, the mean girl behavior towards her this season, it hit the target for me in regards to it this season when it comes to the alienation, the mean girl behavior, the colorism, all of that. But there's no way that we can learn and grow when it comes to colorism. And I love the fact that Karen brought up, the plantation example and, the house person versus the person in the field. I really was truly shocked by Karen. I was like, I didn't expect that moment. And I know some people, sidebar, some people are like, Karen's sitting right next to Andy and she really hasn't talked a lot in episode 1 and in this episode 2 of this reunion. Well, she all the side faces and the little funny moments and then this moment on colorism, she deserved that spot. More than Gizelle. Giselle's trying to tell Andy to move on. Gizelle, you could be on the edge of the seat. Look, you could be on the edge of the seat. Please. Who should have sat next to Andy? I'm going to keep Karen there. I'm going to keep Karen in her spot. But who should have replaced Gizelle? How long was that conversation? Did someone time it? Look, did someone time how long we talked about colorism versus what they did? Because they gave like 5 to 6 minutes. They gave it 5 to 6 minutes. And look, to be honest with you, even if they gave it 20 minutes, I do feel like the audience still would have been like, that's not long enough. And you know why? Because the conversation of colorism doesn't end. It's rooted in racism. It continues in our culture. Because like I said before, there are some people that refuse to see it. And like, I don't see colorism here. And which is fine. You have your perception, but the important thing that Karen said in that moment is you need to take a personal look at the situation and listen to your friend or listen to your castmate, your coworker. Because if we remove the whole colorism conversation and we just put in the uncomfortable conversation, it's the same thing. Respecting that this is the way the person is made to feel based off of your behavior. But there are countless examples. Look, the James Harden episode of their podcast. That's one example off of the show. The alienation of Dr. Wendy Steffo. Again, if you had a moderator that had watched the footage and they could have pulled it out. And you know what? Have Andy sit there because that's the only way that Andy's going to learn. I would put him at the end and have the moderator sit there and have the conversation and conduct these conversations. This person does not have a connection to the cast. This person's not in Hollywood. They're not trying to get their, moment. They are an actual professional that does this work, that talks about this stuff. They lost a moment there. Like, if they had really decided that they were going to be invested in a conversation on colorism, they would have taken that effort. At the end of the day, producers, at the end of the day, Bravo, NBC Universal, you are the employer. It's your responsibility to decide on how that conversation is going to be conducted. It's not on the cast. They can be a part of the conversation, but at the end of the day, it's your decision. Because you are the boss. You are the employer. Here we go with HR again. Look. Sidebar. Why didn't they play my video of Candace's tweets? Come on. That would have been hilarious. Right? Remember when they showed her tweets, her feelings towards Robyn? Because, they inserted what happened with Robyn in between. Because, next week is a 90-minute episode. And so there will be some unseen footage of Robyn in her interview with Andy Cohen. Why didn't they play my video? Because they would have to, first of all, get permission. But that would have been hilarious. No. Well, next time, producers, just call me. Don't act like you don't have the number. All right. So they go from that to the Mia situation. So Mia and her sister friend of like 20, 30 years address their issues. And immediately Jacqueline comes out. Jacqueline looks great. Come on. Okay. So they talk about what led to this. Excuse me. How did we get here? And we still don't know. We still don't really have a true understanding of why. At one point, Jacqueline says that Mia is unhinged. And Jacqueline's like, I don't know if that's the word. Like, I don't know if that's the word.
Who said that? When did she say that? You did.
I don't know if that's the word. It might be the word. You're a little unhinged. Your behavior in Miami was unhinged. But don't forget, Jacqueline was justifying Mia's behavior in Miami. Okay? Let's not forget that. So I kind of look at Jacqueline, like, I get where you're coming from. Mia is no one's friend at the end of the day, no matter how many years you've known her. But you, at every turn, try to justify and protect Mia, even when she was wrong. But it was not lost on me when they start both pulling out their receipts. Mia has her little box of receipts. Jacqueline has her receipt. She wants to talk about the business. She says that her mom has not watched the show. But of course, her sister has. As you know, the sister has been on social media talking about the situation. Sister, who's also the babysitter. Lord. Guys, we have 3,000 people in the building, but we only have less than 1,000 likes. Let's get to 1,500 likes, and maybe I'll drop the call-in link for you guys to call in and share your thoughts. However, members of the channel, if you're a Senior Royal member, I'm going to drop the call-in link for you guys right now on the community tab. All right, so let me do this. Senior Royals. And again, guys, if you would like to become a member of the channel, head on over to teamkempire.com/join. We're talking about the part 2 of the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion. All right. So let me just drop this here. I can't believe tomorrow was the last day of Black History Month, the last day of February. Wow. But March is about to be lit. Watch. Look, watch. All right. Senior Royals, I've dropped the call-in link for you. Royal Court members, I'll be dropping the call-in link for you in a second. Again, guys, if you're watching on Facebook, thank you for watching there, guys. If you haven't liked us on Facebook, be sure to check us out, The Kempire and Kempire Daily on Facebook. And a new episode of my podcast, Kempire Radio, came out over the weekend. It's simply called Thank You, Big Papa, a rant. So I'm ranting about a few different things, including the Kim Zolciak situation. And also, if you missed over the weekend, we did a whole report on Michael Darby and his land ownership in Somalia. All right. So be sure to check that out if you haven't already. Also, we did an interview, a conversation. I don't want to call it an interview. It was more of a conversation with Bravo, We're Black, the podcast. So be sure to check that out as well. I believe we have it pinned in the live chat as well. So be sure to check that out. Run those numbers up, share it, all that good stuff. And don't forget to rate and review. All right. Let me say thank you. We got a couple of super chats that I want to get to. Royal Court members, I dropped the call-in link for you as well. All right, let me say thank you. And thank you guys so much for the super chats. We do appreciate, as you know, as content creators, we have literally, I have a friend of mine that has a YouTube channel, was just recently demonetized. Look, God forbid that happens to us. It's super chats and your Venmos and your Cash Apps and your PayPals and the way that you guys support us on a monthly basis helps us to have that little stash of money to have, God forbid, something like that was to happen. Raji, thank you so much for the super chat. Raji says RHOP is still in her bio. Thank you. Thank you guys for doing, because you know I'm live, so I can't go and check for myself. Stephanie, thank you so much for the super chat. Stephanie says, I hope Wendy does not come back. She's way too good and classy for this show. She deserves so much better. I think Wendy would prefer to be on the show because I don't see Wendy being a professor for much longer. I think she is going to, delve into other things. As you know, she's already delved into other businesses. So maybe, I don't know. Asha, thank you so much for the super chat. She says, mean-spirited and a liar. Gizelle must go. I mean, that would be interesting if they decided, everyone's saying Robyn, but it would be interesting if they did that. Nails World, thank you so much for the super chat. Nail says, so Robyn has been aggressive so many times and Gizelle thought that was funny, but she wanted to get bodyguards for Monique situation. Hypocrite. They're both hypocrites. They've shown the hypocritical behavior this entire reunion and seasons. April, thank you so much for the super chat. She says, great chat this afternoon, Kempire. Thank you so much. And you are an April Aries. It's about to be Aries season after Pisces season soon. Ashley, thank you so much for the super chat. Ashley says, I apologize, folks. Was not visible the other day. Oh, I don't know what you mean by that. Libra, thank you so much for the super chat. Libra says, Wendy's intellect surpasses most of the cast, but she possesses pick-me behavior. Why? I mean, I think that could also be, she's talked about insecurity before. It could be that. I don't know. Nails World, thank you so much for another super chat. Nails says, what I sent is under the tone of colorism on the show. Mia, Ashley, Gizelle, and Robyn are the main people who push colorism on the show. Okay. Let me stop saying Candace, thank you so much for the super chat. Candace says, I was watching another channel and someone mentioned that the women that Jamal cheated on Gizelle with were dark-skinned women, allegedly. Oh, so you think it stems from that? I've heard that rumor before. I don't know. It could be. Anything's possible, but I don't know. I think she's always sort of probably had this with her before. Michelle, thank you so much for the super chat. She says, an unopened cardboard box with the word unboxing. Oh, wait, a super sticker. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much, Michelle. You know what I was thinking? I was thinking Mia's receipt box. There we go. Samara, thank you so much for the super chat. Samara says Gizelle's family was part of the civil rights movement. The fact that she didn't understand colorism is baffling. Doesn't understand or refuses to. Then there's that. All right. Team Kempire members, I'm going to drop the call-in link for you next on our community tab. We already have quite a few people already backstage that wants to share their thoughts. And we're at 1,100 likes. Once we get to 1,500, I'll drop the call-in link. All right. If we don't, it's okay too. Keep liking up the video. Nosy, thank you so much for the super chat. Nosy says, the absence of a moderator during the colorism conversation allowed Jizzy, Rob, and Ashley to avoid accountability. I wish Candace would have submitted that some of the women are colorists like she tweeted about all season. Well, that was an element that we forgot to talk about because according to Andy, Candace did say that she didn't believe that the cast were colorists. Real Talk 2, thank you so much for the super chat. I keep forgetting to press my button. Gizelle said yes to the meeting with Chris, invited him to her room, opened the door. She was comfortable with being in her room until he addressed her about his wife until she became uncomfortable with what he was saying. Yet she's not been able to vocalize what exactly made her uncomfortable. And she feels as if it was Candace that made this a bigger topic. Yeah, because you're attacking her husband. And you really thought that you could bring up this sort of serious conversation and it just sort of be brushed off. And like, oh, we're just going to have a little bit of a tiff during the season and move on, because this is what you have done throughout season after season after seasons, create storylines. And thank you so much for the super chat for the Darby report. 5 stars. Thank you, guys. Look, it took me some time. I had to research. I was reading the Washington Post. I was reading the Wall Street Journal. I was Googling and schmoogling. I was in the Reddit streets. Hold on. I'm going to make sure that I've caught all of the super chats, guys, in a second. Miss Mocha, thank you so much for the super chat. She says, I wish they could darken Gizelle and Robyn's skin tone for a day so that they can see how we are treated. Maybe then they will be more empathetic. Or even, look, I don't even think you need to even do that. At the end of the day, first of all, especially as someone that is black, you still experience racism, no matter, even if you are somewhat passing. Just have a little more empathy. It starts there, but you can already tell that they don't. All right, let's get to some callers, guys. I have spoken for more than... How long have I spoken? More than an hour about the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion. Don't forget, tomorrow, guys, we will be live at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 a.m. PST for our Tuesday takeover, if it's your first time. That's where we cover a variety of reality TV recaps like The Traitors Australia, The Traitors UK, 90 Day Fiancé, Love and Marriage DC, Below Deck. Just saying. Tomorrow, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Shout out to our moderators, guys. Don't forget to say hello to our King's Guards, aka our moderators, for moderating this conversation where we're talking about a lot of serious topics. So it's important that you show appreciation for what they're dealing with in the live chat. Okay. All right. Let's get to some callers. Let me switch out my screen. Again, callers, no profanity. No derogatory statements, no reference to someone's body or hair or anything like that. Look, y'all can do that. There are places to do that, just not on this platform. Okay? All right. Let me switch the sound. Oh, that's super close. Like, ooh. But it's all right. That's right. My lips are chapped, y'all. Yes, my lips were chapped. That's all this talking I was doing. All right. So enough about me talking. Let me put up my banner for the callers. All right. And for those that are just joining us and that have been wondering what artwork this is called, this art is called the Melanin Lisa. Right? I love her. I will take a picture later so you guys can see it more clearly, because the camera that we have, everything else in the background blurs. So, all right. Let me take a sip. Okay, enough of that. All right, let's get to some callers. The first caller we're going to bring up is In My Opinion. In My Opinion, what's going on?
Hi, Kempire. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
You know, I'm blessed by the best.
Amen.
Let me tell you, the part where we get like 3 minutes for colorism is baffling to me, because of the simple fact that you didn't think enough of the situation to give it its own 10, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, to resolve it. You didn't think enough of it to hire a moderator that could handle the situation the right way, because even Candace herself said she really didn't know the definition, so she was looking it up. So in my opinion, they needed somebody there that knew what colorism was, because it is a wide, you can't just look at the dictionary form and then form an opinion, because it is wide. You know, the way it affects you is wide. Yeah. So the fact that nobody took the time to realize that, nobody in production took the time to understand what it is that we go through being darker You know, even Karen touching on that she stayed on a plantation, it didn't even go deeper. You know what I'm saying? Like it's more than just her staying on a
Yeah.
plantation, or darker skinned women being the ones that had to work harder than the light skinned ones that had to go in the house. It was more deeper than that.
Yeah.
Like we putting it in a bubble of back in the day, but that definition has
Mm.
increased because of the times that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
Colorism is bigger, and it's being shown on a lot of shows and nobody's talking about it. So
Yeah.
what are we teaching our kids to look out for? How are we going to teach them not to be the colorists that they showing up on these TV screens if we never put in a time to actually go through it and tell people what it is?
Yeah, and that this is continues to be perpetuated without it really having a conversation. And I think a moderator and this is why some people thought the moderator should be this popular person or this pop. No, we need someone that knows this stuff, that studies this stuff, and understands
Exactly.
how
It
this.
should have been a doctor or a therapist that actually works on people that suffer from this condition, because it actually affects people sometimes being in that condition where they are around either white women or lighter skin tone black women, that they're being treated differently, and they feel like they can't elevate even in their careers, like in the workplace. It's happening in every workplace, not just on national TV.
Oh
And that
yeah,
was the reason why it was a bigger issue, but nobody's tackling it, nobody's handling it the right way. So how are we going to expect change when we're not even accepting the fact that, hey, it needs to be a change?
yeah. All right. In my opinion, I can't even speak. In my opinion, thank you so much for calling in.
You have a blessed day.
You too. Bye. All right. We're gonna bring up Judgy Justice next. What's going on, Judgy Justice?
Hey, so I think overall I was really disappointed in the reunion. I had to sit with myself and really decompress from it, just because I was so bothered.
Mm.
I'm not the darkest person in the room. I'm very in the middle. And I know that what I've experienced, because I've been in, rooms where someone's looking at something and I've been telling them, oh, it's right here, this and this. And I've been ignored by all of my white colleagues. So I know exactly how that feels. And I feel that, it's very hurtful for them to only have it wrapped down to 120 seconds. That, and this is a disgrace to not only the people that still endure, this colorism right now, and it's also insulting for those that are going to still face it tomorrow and in the future, because I think about my children and what they're going to face. And, and they're not, and they're not that brown, they're not that, dark, but I know what I've endured.
But here's the thing. It doesn't even matter, because you see someone like Gizelle. No, you want, even if you have a light-skinned child, to understand what colorism is, especially if they're, as they show up in the world as someone that is of fairer skin.
Exactly. So then to also, I feel it's very disgraceful for Gizelle to be there, having that, background in their family, who fought for everyone. And they didn't just fight for one pigment or the other. They fought for all of us to have that, have these rights today. It's insulting to our whole ancestral line. And, and it's insulting to everyone in the world that is going through that, because it happens in South America, and the genocides that happened against people, brown, complexion. It happens in India with the caste system.
Yep.
It happens right now. It also happens in Asia, where there's people that wear those big hats because they do not want to even be of a darker pigmentation, because what that's associated with. Because when you realize that it was spread based in that white is right kind of complex, and how it spread across the globe into all systems, in all societies, and of all aspects, where some people can't even get a job outside of their family, their family's job. I'm trying to be fast. I can't think of the right word. They can't get a job outside of that because of the association that you can't do this. There's doctors in Canada right now that, they have patients that come into the ER and that are Black, and because they are Black, those patients would rather die than to have a Black person or someone of color to work on them. I really feel it's insulting. I'm reevaluating my thoughts on the whole Housewives brand, just personal digestion because I didn't think it would affect me this badly. Really reflect. So it makes me think about how I'm like supporting even the fact that I watched it. I'm supporting this message, and how can I make an impact? So I thank you so much for the time.
Okay.
About that. That was really my thoughts on it.
Thank you so much for calling in, Judge Justice. All right. Let me just point out. Hold on. TB, thank you so much for the super chat. TB says, civil rights leaders were some of the most colorist of all. Gizelle is a product of generations steeped in colorism. She'll never acknowledge it. I mean, Aja, thank you so much for the super chat. Aja says, dearest Kempire, catching a live chat for the second time since membership over 18 months ago. Wow. I love you and rated this episode a 3 for the nonsense. Not the 3 for the nonsense. Aja, thank you so much for your support and thank you so much for being a member of the channel. Thank you. Ja, thank you so much for the super chat. Ja says, hey, Kempire and fam. Oh, God. What Gizelle was giving Kim Z's racism didn't exist before social media vibes during the colorism topic. What'd you guys think of that? TA had said, plenty of historians could have broken it down before they even talked about colorism. Exactly. Nelly says, what about Ebony K. Williams? She would have been a good moderator. Here's the thing. Ebony would have been if she had not been on the franchise, if she was not just someone that's been a part of this world. I would much rather someone that's really separate from these people that aren't, hung out with these folks or know each other, that kind of thing. So I would much prefer someone completely separated from the situation. She, of course, probably would be able to have a great conversation, but I would prefer someone completely separate from the conversation. All right, let's get to some more calls because we have a long line backstage, a long line. So callers, be very mindful of that so I can get to everyone. All right. Phoenix, I'm going to bring you up next. What's going on, Phoenix?
Hey, how's the audio?
Great. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah. Just the sound got weird with the last caller, so I was worried. So first things first, I was insulted with the colorism conversation because it was so brief, but I also did not think that it was fair to have it all go on Candace. I do think that it's unfair to have it go on the two individuals that are darker skinned to kind of like carry this weight. Like, I think that that's something that happens really often. The people that are the most afflicted by something seem to be the ones that have to then do the labor to explain it. And so I didn't think that that was fair. I would think that it's really shocking that so many of them voted to not have the moderator. I believe that Candace tweeted and said she was the only one that wanted the moderator. And that's why they kind of decided to have her talk. I think it would have been better potentially to have Wendy speak on it. I think that Wendy probably could have defined colorism without having to pull out her phone. I thought that that was a little ridiculous. And I could just be nitpicking, but I mean, it is something serious. And if you're saying that it's something that afflicts you on the regular, I don't get why you have to pull out your phone and read a definition online.
Well, I also, in all fairness, she probably wanted to separate her personal definition and say, this is what is defined.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, like, I'm sure that makes sense actually, because then it's like more straightforward. It's not kind of like, it's not personalized. So then I think what it is, which made me really sad, is that she had to depersonalize it for it to be taken seriously. And even then it wasn't taken seriously, but I feel that she had to, because I was asking myself, why would she say nobody on the cast is colors? Well, why are we having this damn conversation? But I kind of thought back to like, what we have to deal with a lot of times as Black women, as Black people, is we're not allowed to actually say how we feel because we're going to lose a bunch of people. So maybe she felt if she came out the gate saying, yes, Robyn and Gizelle, I think you're colorist. Here's why. Maybe they just would have stopped paying attention. And so maybe she felt, let me give them the grace of saying they're not colorist because I don't think that they intend it. But this is how I feel. But unfortunately, even though she did that, even though in a lot of ways I feel that she coddled them through the conversation, it was still not appreciated. And I think that there are three reasons. First of all, just ignorance. And why would people like Robyn and Gizelle, why would they actually admit their privilege with colorism? Because that would only take away from the benefits that they and how they live, right? They get to live this carefree life and not think about colorism. So why would they want to think about it if it benefits them directly? So that's the first thing. It's willful ignorance, because they're able to keep their position of power in these dynamics, especially in dynamics with other women, not just because of the color of their skin, but because they are almost nearly white passing and have lighter eyes, right? And I think that's another thing to note too. But I also, the second thing that I think is that because they all have children with, well, not Ashley, but Gizelle and Robyn have children with men that are darker than them, and they have children that are darker than them. I think that they think that that means that they can't be colorist. And I think that they have a hard time understanding accusations of colorism when it's coming from somebody who is married to a white man. Now, I'm not saying that this is my opinion. I'm not saying that I don't think that Candace can speak on colorism. I'm just saying we have to think about how these women their they're very old school, right? And they categorize and define women based off of the man that they're with. And so they probably think, well, I had kids with the darkest skinned man. You're having kids with a white man. How can you tell me what my preference is for this or that? I'm sure that's what they're thinking. Did they say it out loud? No. I think the other thing too, the third thing that is keeping them from really understanding the colorism conversation is that both Wendy and Candace, even though they are darker skinned, have other privileges. And I think that they bring up those privileges quite often to act as if they are better than the other women. So I think that's another reason too. Not defending Gizelle, not defending Robyn. I think that they're colorist more so than anybody else in the cast, more so than on any franchise. But I will say that when people kind of oppose this conversation on colorism, it's not just to silence Wendy and Candace. It's to say, well, Wendy, you have all of these degrees. And color and shade of color leads to different status in society. But also, the degrees that you have lead to different status in society. Being able to have those degrees, even though you are a dark-skinned Black woman and probably had to work harder for them than somebody who's white or lighter skinned, at the end of the day, those degrees afford you certain privileges that in some ways remove you from some of what the Black experience is. And that's the same thing as Candace coming from such a wealthy family. I think that that's why they're not understanding the colorism thing, because they already see the immense privilege that Candace has. So a lot of times people,
So
I
you
think,
just
have a
confirmed
hard
for me,
time
Phoenix.
understanding
I have
what
to cut,
privilege
Phoenix.
means.
I got to cut you off. I'm sorry, just because we have to get to other calls. But the point that you're making for me here is exactly why they needed a moderator. Phoenix, did I lose you? Oh, did I lose you, Phoenix? I guess I did. All right. So as Phoenix was saying, for me, was literally why exactly they needed a moderator. Because this conversation, of course, it's not going to be, even if they had a whole hour talking about colorism, is not necessarily going to get to the nitty gritty of what's happening on the show and what's happening in our society when it comes to colorism. So I think it's really, really important why we needed a moderator. And to put this on the cast to make that decision as a organization, to me, was irresponsible. Just saying, but I'm not completely shocked. All right. Jeanette, we have a long line of people. And for those that are asking where this is the call-in link, we have set a rule in the live chat. Once we get to 1,500 likes, I will drop the call-in link for the general audience. If we don't, it's okay. It's okay. I have a long line of people backstage. So let me try and get to everyone. Janelle, I'm going to bring you up next. What's going on, Janelle?
Bonjour. Hello, Kempire.
How are
you, darling?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm happy. Well, I ain't that happy about this reunion, but I'm happy in general. Hello. All right, so let me keep it cute and short. Because a lot of people have already said a lot what I wanted to say. So yay. I am entirely and completely disappointed in that colorism conversation. Because and also and this is the part that really got me. And I don't cry during reunions unless it calls for it. But and as a dark skinned woman myself, when Wendy started crying, I felt that pain.
Yeah.
I felt that pain. I knew exactly how she felt when it's one thing where you're speaking your truth and you're defending yourself and then no one defends you. No, it's one thing. It's like someone said this to me. I think my parents said to me recently. it's one thing to stand up for yourself. It's another thing to stand up for yourself and then having a group of people support you.
Mm,
And nobody was there to support Wendy in that moment. And Candace, I love you. Sometimes you say stuff on the show. I'm like, "Ooh, girl, let me hide." But like that, like sometimes I wonder if Candace is wondering it's like who to appease. And I understand that she
mm,
has a certain level of loyalty to Robyn. I understand that. But your girl Wendy out here, like, hey, help me out. This is a problem. And the
mm,
thing is that, and I just feel this, and I know this as a learned experience. That
mm,
sometimes when you're darker skinned, and this all the way goes back to colonization, it goes back to slavery, is that if you are darker skinned, no, then all of a sudden you don't have feelings. All of a sudden you
mm.
don't know how to, and that is rooted in slavery.
Yeah.
There are like if people want to question in the chat, then boo boo, go Google it, and you'll see that I'm right. The thing is that it's the same thing to how like when we're in the hospital, what another caller said, like I think Judge
Yeah.
Justice said, like when you
Mm-hmm.
go into the hospital and you're saying how like, oh, I'm in pain, but they don't believe you.
Mm-hmm. There's literal research, medical research on Black people's experience when it comes to the doctors and where that is rooted in as well.
Exactly. And the thing is that Wendy's feelings are just as valid as everyone else's. And I agree with you. And I agree with Phoenix, I believe, about there should have been a moderator. And also, this goes back to, and I was thinking this because I can't say much, but I've gone through a similar situation at a past job. I am curious to know if there are any people of color, primarily a Black person, in leadership at Bravo. I'm
That's a
real
good
curious.
question. And you're talking about Bravo and not the production company.
Correct. I am not talking about the production company because let's keep it all the way funky. Yes, Real Housewives of Orange County may have jump started the Real Housewife franchise, but Atlanta was the one who put Bravo truly on
Oh
the map.
yeah. The
And
ratings, the numbers prove that.
hello. And Atlanta was the number one rated series. I don't know if it still is, but it was for multiple seasons, more than 10. So my question is, where is that Black leadership at Bravo? And is there a concerted effort to have Black leadership at Bravo so
Mm.
these problems don't have to continuously be happening? Because, and this is my last time I say on so other callers can talk. Because I thought back to Marvel, and people are wondering why Black Panther took so long to be created. It didn't happen until Nate Moore, a Black executive, got hired at Marvel back in 20 and not back in 2013, but it was in 2013. He was like, let's get this thing off and popping because he saw
And
Ryan
now,
Coogler, right? And he said because he saw Ryan Coogler's Fruitvale Station and was like, I want this man to direct Black Panther. So let's
mm,
keep it all the way funky. It wasn't happening until a Black executive got in that room and got the eyes of Kevin Feige and was like, we need to make this. So where is this Black leadership at Bravo? Because this is, I'm sorry, I love Bravo. I love Real Housewives. It's my escape from the world, but I'm getting mad.
mm,
I'm getting very upset with the way they be doing things. It's just like, are you kidding me? 5 minutes
yeah,
for a topic on colorism,
yeah.
and then you got Jizzy Jizz over here acting a fool. So fire Robyn, demote Gizelle. I said it. Okay, bye. I have to. Yeah, I had. That's my opinion. Y'all can fight me later. Well, please don't fight me. I'm a lover.
Bye,
Anyway,
Chanel.
all right. I'll talk to you later. And go eat something, Kempire.
I'll
Bye.
try. All right, y'all. All right, guys, if you're just joining us, we are talking about part 2 of the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video. It's an easy and free way of supporting not just my channel, but your channel, my channel, other people's channel. They will start to show up on your algorithm by liking the video. And don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. You're getting all kinds of content here. We don't just talk about the Real Housewives or reality TV. We cover everything in pop culture. So be sure to check out some of the things that we've been talking about. And tomorrow I will be talking about a variety of reality TV and pop culture news mashed up in our Tuesday takeover. All right, let me just say thank you. We had a couple of super chats. Yewende, thank you so much for the super chat. Yewende says, if we swap this with Black and white women, we'd see racism. It's true. See, that's the thing. People refuse to to think in that way. And I was like, well, what if this was my experience, or put yourself in someone else's place? A lot of people don't do that. Tony, thank you so much for the super chat. Tony says, I'm disappointed in the amount of time they've spent on the issue, but I don't think the reunion was the place to discuss it. Since it becomes an issue, Bravo needs to have a whole separate show about it. I think you could do both. But it showed me, it showed a lot. It showed a lot on how it was addressed. But let me get to these calls because I know everyone has strong opinions. Callers, again, I implore you, there are people waiting to share their opinions. So let's not rehash what's already been said. The most important thing that you want to mention. All right. We're going to bring up Tiana next. What's going on, Tiana? What are your thoughts?
Okay, so I'm going to be really, really quick.
Okay.
I think that, one, there should have been a moderator, but I think that Andy needs to stop trying to be their friend. He needs to be their boss. Because I would not have called these women and been like, hey, how do you want to address the issue? And then if you only have one person, Candace, who's asking for a moderator, and you have all the other perpetrators besides Wendy and Karen who are like, no, you can just go ahead and handle it, that should tell you something.
No.
So I wouldn't have called them, and I would have had Amanda Seales pop up on that Bravo stage.
Come on. No, I keep telling you guys, I do not want someone that is already, a person that's, a popular person. And the reason why is because we love Amanda Seales, and I do believe she does the work, she reads. However, I want someone that researches this, that covers this. This is their job.
Like, I want an author of all of the Black books. Somebody,
not all the Black. Come on, all the Black books.
Like someone who really knows and who can push back, because I know that everyone's upset that the conversation was so short, but I really think that because there was no moderator, I think that what we saw was all the conversation that was had. Because I don't believe that Gizelle and Robyn really have the reach. And like I said, it wasn't, I think a previous caller had said it wasn't fair to Candace to put all that on her shoulders. But I don't think that they have the depth to even really have a conversation about this.
Yeah.
And so I think the 3 minutes that we saw, I bet you there was probably maybe 5 minutes of footage. And I think that that's really what it was, because there was no moderator. So I appreciate Andy. Like, I'm sure that he saw all of our tweets when we said, you ain't the one to be having this conversation. And so I appreciate, in a way, him like, no, I shouldn't have this conversation. I shouldn't be the one. But he needs to stop trying to be their friend, and he needs to be their boss. Ooh. And he needs to say, hey, forget your feelings. This is what we're doing. And if you don't like it, then you don't have to come back. But one last thing. I know that Gizelle, over the years, has been a nasty person. But her behavior last night was probably some of the, like, I looked at her and I felt like a sense of disgust. Because I was like, how dare you sit here and say to Wendy that you don't care, when Andy was telling her, oh, you don't, she felt violated, you felt violated. And for her to sit there and say, well, I don't care about her, or I don't like her, so why would I care? That's probably the most disgusting. If Gizelle had a job, we'd be trying to get her fired from her job if it wasn't Bravo. Because that was disgusting. And for Andy to not kind of push back on that kind of like had me feeling some type of way. For Mia to sit here and say that Wendy had slept with Peter, and for no one to push back on that, just with no receipt. Like, so we're just letting Mia lie with no receipts, and no one's saying anything. And so I was disappointed. I was disappointed, because it's just like, I think Andy tries so hard to be these women's friends, and he's no longer equipped to handle hosting the reunion.
Yeah. All right, Tiana, thank you so much for calling in.
Okay, you guys have a good day. Bye.
You too. All right. Let's try to get to it. We have Miss Bernice backstage. We have Adrian. We have Tyler. We have Tina. We have Flocat. We have Miss Esquire. We have Brooklyn Star. Again, guys, I want to be able to get to everyone. So the most important point that you want to address, all right, so that we can get to everyone, so they don't blame you later, okay? All right, I'm bring up Miss Bernice. What's going on, Miss Bernice?
Hey, Kempire, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm fine. If they're not going to bring in Cornel West and Iyanla Vanzant, I don't want to talk about colorism anymore, because that show just proved that they don't care. And for Gizelle to be sitting up there like she got permanent gas was getting on my last nerve. For her facial expression.
Come on.
Like the lady don't know what an embryo is. I don't need to say anything else about Gizelle. And for her to sit up there and point to Wendy, I don't like her. So she's justified to get the treatment that she got this season. because I don't like her. The reason you don't like her is that she didn't go for your bullying her. She didn't go for you blast her husband's name and saying he's sleeping with other women.
Yeah.
And when they told you what you're doing is affecting my kids, you didn't have decency to come back and say, well, I took it too far. I don't like her. That's on you. That's not on Wendy. Other than that, it was a waste of time. I'm not looking forward to next week. The only reason I want to see Chris defend himself, that's the only good thing. But all that Robyn and all the intel about her and this line and you covering up for your marriage for your husband, you love it. I like it, but it's a waste of time.
Yeah. All right, Miss Bernie, thank you for calling in.
Other than that, go eat your food.
Thank you. Bye. I gotta make my food first. But let's get to some more of these callers, guys. Let me just say thank you first, though. Real Talk 2, thank you for the super chat. Real Talk 2 says, limiting ethics, safety, equity, and the law because you don't like someone is the root of racism, bigotry, and colorism. Bravo pays Gizelle and maintains her employ and therefore is also responsible. Come on with a word. Come on with a word. Look, and going back to what one of the callers just said, if one of the cast says, yes, we should have a moderator, that should have been it. If all of them said no, that would have been one thing. If one person says yes, you should have immediately. But again, I would have had the conversation with them, but as employers, it's your responsibility to make that decision, not just the cast, because you're not only responsible for the cast, you're responsible for what you are putting on national television for your majority Black audience. Adrian, I'm going to bring you up next. What's going on, Adrian?
Hey, love, how can you hear me?
Yes. What's going on?
Okay, good. So I just felt like I was absolutely disgusted watching this last night. Colorism is an absolute vestige of white supremacy. That's why you see it permeated through cultures wherever colonialism went. But I think it was a missed opportunity to discuss the real elephant in the room with this group, which is why Gizelle, Robyn, and Ashley have such a problem with darker skinned women living a life that's better than them. They have a particular problem with that. It's giving that those dark skinned women don't deserve to have the life that they live. They don't deserve to have the money, the husband, the loving husband, the career, the family, the millions, the status, and whatnot. And it's like they feel like, and I know that they've been told, you can tell the way that they act, especially with Gizelle, that this is a life that your light skin and green eyes was just supposed to automatically afford you. Hashtag soft life. And they don't have that, and they can't stand these darker skinned women do have it. Because we all watched Gizelle's face crack in real time when Monique told her she had 4 houses. She couldn't stand her from that point forward. With Ashley and Candace, Ashley, her whole issue with Candace, that this dark-skinned girl had the audacity to grow up with a glamorous life behind a country club, not struggling, while your mother was living up under a tent in a bridge with a white man. And Candace, you said that you were going to make sure that your sons were set up well, but you clown Candace for her parents doing the same thing. And then also, wouldn't Ray and Karen do the same for Raven? You mean to tell me when Raven go to buy her first house, they not gonna make sure every I dotted and T is crossed to make sure that girl got everything she needs? Would you clown her for that? Didn't Candace and Raven grow up the same way with affluent parents? Make it make sense. Seriously. And then and also with the whole thing about the way people grew up, isn't Gizelle always running around talking about her pedigree? Isn't Robyn's father a retired dentist? So you all also grew up with some sort of affluence, but you have a problem with the fact that a dark-skinned girl had the audacity to grow up that way. It's giving the fact that she doesn't deserve it. That is very, very deep-rooted. Because then when also Gizelle said that Wendy was jealous of me. Remember when they was in Mexico? Jealous of what? What in the world does Wendy and all her accolades have to be jealous of a former stripper who admitted to sleeping with another one's husband at South Beach and then got thrown into the position she wasn't qualified for and almost ran the company into the ground? What in the world is Wendy going to be unless Gizelle feels like light skin is something to envy? Let's talk about it. This is why the conversation was missed. This is why you needed somebody a la Iyanla Vanzant or some Black woman that was going to get up there and tell the truth. And they missed it because, and I want to know, with the beautiful brown skin daughters that took after their daddy, what are you going to tell them? What are you going to tell them about sisterhood when you sat there and treated your own dark-skinned soror like crap on national television? And you keep moving the goalposts with no moral compass about what is right and is not wrong, right and wrong, based on the shade of brown in a woman that you're dealing with. Then all of a sudden you want to change the rules. And lastly, and to Ms. Bernice's point, Gizelle is mad that a dark skinned woman had the audacity to bark back at her. That's what she's upset about with Wendy. You can't explain it no other way. And and lastly, let me point this out. I am a light skinned woman. All right. I've done my own family history. I know exactly how much European blood I have. And more importantly, I know how it got there. And I don't understand why these women run around like that's some type of badge of honor. Because one of my ancestors had to sit there and get violated night after night after night. And this is not Loving versus Virginia. This was not a beautiful love. This ain't a Chris and Candace type of union. That's not what that was. That's not why most of us look the way that we look. And you're sitting up there acting like that proximity and whiteness is something you're supposed to run around carrying over somebody. That somehow, if they don't have that, if they didn't get that European blood, then they're less than you. They completely missed the opportunity to talk about the real here. Seriously, look at that. Ashley's father treated Sheila just like a daggone slave. He slammed the door in that girl's face because he didn't want to acknowledge he had a black child. And this girl's running around here craving whiteness like that. That is deeply rooted. And so, yeah, Andy's going to sit back and say, hey, I'm a white man. I don't have a capacity. Okay, cool. But you didn't go the step further. I don't care what the girls said that they wanted. You, executive producer, that company should have put together a professional to come in and discuss this.
Yep. That was a responsibility.
Absolutely, as the employers here, but you let the inmates run the asylum.
You know what?
Anyway, let me go. I'll let somebody else talk. Bye,
Thanks,
love.
Adrian.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Woo, we got some of the best callers. Okay. That was a read. You guys are reacting on TikTok and on YouTube and Facebook. I know. And Replay Crew, I want to know your thoughts and your reaction. Again, be responsible with your thoughts and react. Let's have constructive conversations. All right. Let me move on. We have Tyler, we have Tina, and we have Flocat, and we have Miss Esquire backstage. I want to be able to get to them. We already have a couple people dropping off because they want to get their thoughts off. So I want to be able to get to everyone. All right. Tyler, I'm going to bring you up next. What's going on, Tyler?
Hi, how are you? I'm going to be very brief. Okay, so I think with Gizelle, a lot of things that people are forgetting as well is pretty privilege. She suffers from pretty privilege. And I'm not trying to be funny when I say this, but if Wendy or anybody else on the cast dressed the way she looks, because what do you always see? They always say face card never declines, though. So she's been able to be privileged. I think that's a portion of why she has an issue with Wendy and them as well, because she's looking like, I'm pretty. I'm supposed to have this lifestyle or whatever like that. I think that she doesn't know that colorism comes along with that as well. She needs to be educated. So I think she also suffers from pretty privilege. Okay, with Candace, it's kind of hard for me to sympathize with Candace sometimes. Being a black, gay, feminine male and knowing the tweets that she put out and how she was very dismissive about those things, it's kind of hard for me to be on her side about certain things because I'm like, Candace, you too are bigoted. And a lot of your tweets were very bigoted and you were very dismissive about them when they came out. She was very dismissive about this. She was like, well, I'm not going to join a pride parade and I'm not going to do this and this and that. And I think a lot of people forget about that because she's been reading people that we tend to not like. But Candace has done a lot of horrible things. And it's hard and I think anything that she says, sometimes that's why she gets a lot of pushback as well, because it's like, girl, like you say a lot of horrible things. Like, even I don't like Gizelle, but I think it was a little too low to say you're dwindling uterus. Like that was it's Candace's mouth is very foul. To sometimes it feels like some of the things. Not saying it's always warranted, but sometimes I'm like, girl, that's what you get because your mouth, like her mouth is filthy. But last thing, I do not think under any circumstances that Wendy is or will ever be jealous of Mia. However, I do feel as though Wendy has this mentality of I've had to work very hard to get the things that I want, and she looks at women like Ashley and maybe Mia as less than her, because it's like I work hard for this and this and that, and y'all just got this from sleeping with a man. So she has that type of attitude. But hey, you worked hard and you deserve that because you could do it on your own. But I think there's two things battling with each other. But the main thing about Gizelle is they need to check her. because she thinks because she is so pretty, and she's a beautiful woman. Do not get me wrong. But she thinks that that's going to get her through the door. And to be honest, Andy caters to that. He's always done that on every show, for the most part, with the exception of Nene. It was her personality. He always caters to the women that he deems the most pretty and keep them like he wants to be accepted. And I think that, did you put up that picture? But I think that's why he does that. He thinks Gizelle's that pretty popular girl, so he sits her right next to her and caters to her. That's what it is. But I'm gonna go. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. Take care. Whew. All right. Let me just say thank you. We had quite a few super chats that I missed. Nail's World, thank you so much for the super chat. Nail says, they bullied Wendy, period. They literally came after her after someone who was attacked. And in mean girl fashion, Gizelle, Robyn, and Mia tried to blame Wendy. Okay. Kia, thank you so much for the super chat. Kia says they should have had a special segment talking about colorism the same way that they did for Robyn and the cheat. Oh, come on. Because we could care less about what Robyn has to say about the Juan situation at this point. We would have preferred a half hour talking about the years of colorism, how it's addressed on the show, how it's not addressed on the show. That is much preferred. Thank you, Kia. That is such a good point. A 90-minute episode next week to cover that. Tony, thank you so much for the super chat. Tony says Sunny Hostin would be a good person to moderate. Again, I understand people's inclination to go toward the popular name, and I think Sunny is brilliant. However, her expertise is not on the subject of race and colorism and things like that. Her expertise is law and in those kinds of conversations. But okay, Nisi, thank you for the super chat. Nisi says since Layla Lynn is doing a deep dive into the arc of Gizelle, she'd be a great moderator for our colorism discussion. Thoughts? I mean, look, again, my honest opinion, I would rather someone, and we love Layla, I would rather someone that has studied this on so many different levels. It also has not recapped the show. This is part of the reason why I'm like, I don't want to be a part of that as a moderator, because we recap the show. People are going to be like, oh, you have a bias. No, I want someone that doesn't know the show like that. They watch it only because they're going to moderate this conversation. It's me, MK. Thank you so much for the super chat. MK says, as an African, I had to hold in tears watching Wendy's treatment. This reunion was trash and triggering. Another issue is that there's issues between Africans and African Americans in the States. Then that's a whole other conversation. Rock, thank you so much for the super sticker. We appreciate you supporting the channel. Thank you to everyone that sent in super chats. Thank you to everyone that has liked the video, that also supports the channel, that is viewing this video. And shout out to our replay crew as well. Princess Jasmine, thank you so much for the super chat. She says, Candace's comments only hurt feelings. Dwindling uterus doesn't land anyone in prison, but suggesting that a man is a predator just may. People are simple and overly emotional. Okay. Let me just save the... All right. Oh, wait, hold on. Princess Jasmine added, not suggesting, flat out claiming such. Okay. All right. Did I miss any other super chat? All right. If anything, I will get back to them. I do have a line of callers. However, I'm going to drop the call-in link once for the live chat because I am a man of my word. And I said that once we hit 1,500 likes, I would drop the call-in link. So I'm going to drop it for the general audience. But that does not mean I will be able to get to all the callers because I've been live for 2 hours. and callers that are coming in right now will have a time limit. All right? All right. And if you call up in here and be disrespectful, cuss, use profanity, derogatory statements, you will be blocked for infamy.
Do you understand?
Sorry. that's the hangry me. All right. Tina's backstage, Flowcat's backstage, and Miss Esquire's backstage, okay? All right, so I'm going to bring up Tina first. What's going on, Tina?
Hey, Kempire, how are you?
I'm well, how are you?
As a very melanated woman of the age of 66, I almost was in tears with Wendy last night because colorism is a global phenomenon. It is just not in the United States. It's everywhere.
Mm.
And it's just really sad that people want to try to shy away from that. Andy should have been off the stage. There should have been a therapist or somebody that has researched this issue. And it's very curious to me. I don't want to keep rehashing what other people have said. Gizelle is a light skinned mom with darker brown daughters. I'm sure her children have been. Is that really your mom?
Mm.
That's a kind of colorist statement because my sister has biracial children. They always ask my sister in New York, "Oh, you're the nanny." She said, "No, that's my daughter." So it's going to be very interesting when her daughters are confronted with that issue. How is she as a mother going to handle that?
Yeah.
That's going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah.
But it's the show. I don't know. They may have to bring Dr. Francis on this show or something.
Dr. Francis. Again, Dr. Francis, his expertise is relationships.
Right. Well, they have relationship issues on
well,
this show.
good point. Good point.
On national TV and say, I don't like her. And like Adrian Masora said, that's your sorority sister. Even if you don't like her, you wouldn't say that on national TV.
Damn, that's deep,
huh?
huh?
Oh, my God. So I don't know. I'm not even sure if I'm going to watch next year because this show I've watched it since day one and it has really went down the toilet. It's horrible.
Wow.
But that whole thing that Kia said, have a segment on that. If you're listening, Bravo, you guys need to clean this up because I'm sure you're going to get a lot of backlash about that segment last night. That was horrible.
Tina, thank you so much for calling.
All right,
in.
I'll send you some biscuits.
Thank you. Bye.
Go eat.
I love how everyone's telling me to go eat and I can't. Oh wait, I didn't even drop the calling link. Sorry, y'all, in the live chat. I'm like, why didn't nobody call in? I guess y'all didn't. I guess y'all changed your minds. All right, Flo Cat, I'm gonna bring you up next. What's going on, Flo Cat?
Hey, Kempire.
How are you?
Let me know when I hit my time limit because I have rambling thoughts going through my head.
Well, you're a member, so you can just go.
Okay. I think my feeling is, and I'm a Black woman, I just think it's disappointing that Black people could speak so freely, and that includes me, of race, racism, discrimination, unconscious bias. For example, my manager told me to come in at 9:30. I noticed my boss came in 9:35. I didn't think it was racism, but I could say that, and some people would agree with me. But when it comes to colorism, the bar is so high to even acknowledge it. And again, like racism, it doesn't mean you hate dark Black people. It doesn't mean you don't love them. It doesn't mean we're not all part of the same community. It just means there's unconscious bias. And I think it's okay to say it. And it doesn't even mean that dark-skinned Black people have such horrible lives and light-skinned people are, living their best life. It just means it exists. So I don't get why it's such an issue. The second thing is with Gizelle. I know people are saying that she's a granddaughter of civil rights, whatever. And no disrespect to the civil rights movement. They are more colorist than Gizelle was.
Someone else said that in the chat.
Yeah, isn't that the thing where they always made like light-skinned people and to keep it going? I don't think I don't want to accuse anyone's family of anything, so I'll leave it at that. The third thing, I also think this is my opinion. Why are we holding Andy and the producers and Bravo to this high standard to solve or talk about colorism? The Black women on the show did not want to talk about it. The Black women on the show didn't want to moderate it. The Black woman on the show said, thank God this is over, and kept on rolling her eyes every time it was discussed. So honestly, it starts with them, if you ask me.
Okay. All right, Flo Cat, thank you so much for calling in.
Okay, great. This is really silly, but I sent in a super chat last week, and I was not trying to be rude. It's just I only had $2 and 50 characters. And what I wanted to say was just, again, this is me. Ashley, we tell her, get the bag, get the money from Michael. And we're criticizing Chris for moving in with his girlfriend and not paying rent. That's all I'm trying to say. That's all.
Okay.
But I'm sorry, and I think of you as my friend, so I hate the idea that you would be mad at me.
No, I wasn't mad. I completely forgot. Okay. Thanks, Flo Cat. Bye. Yeah, guys. Sometimes I miss super chats. Look, because I'm not perfect. Because I'm hosting, producing, engineering, and doing all the things. So sometimes I miss your super chats, and sometimes I don't understand because I am hosting a show and I'm trying to read what you're saying. So things get misconstrued. Trust and believe. Once I leave this show, I forget about everything else. Call me Dory. All right. Miss Esquire is backstage. We're going to bring her up next. What's going on, Miss Esquire? Thoughts on this?
Hi, Kempire. How are you?
You're about to go in, aren't you?
No, I'm just going to first apologize if you hear my kids because
No,
they
it's
are
okay.
actually going in. Much like you as an earth sign, I'm like the same way. I just say what I say in the moment, and I really forget about it after the fact. So I believe you when you say, "Listen, honey, I ain't thought about that since I said it." But so do you remember last season on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills reunion when they asked all the cast members how they would like to deal with talking about the racism that Garcelle's son dealt with, when they asked them how would they like to address that, whether they wanted a moderator, whether they wanted Andy to moderate the conversation? Do you remember them asking that cast that? Because I
No,
don't.
it didn't happen.
Because I don't. And so that like really rubbed me the wrong way, because I'm like, we have had very sensitive conversations in the realm of the housewives. We had to talk about domestic violence, we've had to talk about jail and prison time and crimes, and we've had to talk about divorces and infidelity. And all of a sudden, when it comes to a conversation about colorism, let's throw the onus on that onto the cast and let them decide. It is such a dereliction of duty, in my opinion, for the producers who have done that. And to me, it just shows, well, one, the time frame that they dedicated absolutely shows me how much they care about the subject, right? And so that also showed me, because I don't know any situation where if you were dealing with racism that was not interracial, right? There was a white person and a black person, that you would say, hey, we're going to put the onus on the most affected people within this particular circumstance to decide how we're going to deal with it. And then when they decide how they want to deal with it, we're going to have the most marginalized people within that group do the intellectual and the emotional labor, because that sounds damn fair. I just, I couldn't believe that Candace took on the mantle, because I'm like, baby, you don't have to be anybody's emotional donkey, not even these other black women on here. I appreciated that she did it. I thought she did a valiant effort, but honestly, she doesn't have the reach, she doesn't have the range to moderate that kind of conversation, and nor should she have to when she's one of the most marginalized and affected by what has happened. So I just think it was a complete dereliction of duty on Bravo's part. But here's also the thing: colorism showed its face in this process before these women were ever on our cameras, or on camera on our television screens, because it showed in the casting. So of course, Bravo itself is not prepared to deal with a conversation about colorism, because if they were, they would have dealt with it when they casted the show. That's neither here nor there. We're going to move on. And let me tell you something about Gizelle. Gizelle, if she would have just said, I was made uncomfortable because of the choice I made to be in a room alone with a married man. That is what made me uncomfortable. I chose to be in a room with a married man. That wasn't my intention. And being in a room with him made me uncomfortable. If she had said that, that makes all the difference in the world, because then we get to validate your feelings, and then we don't have to then project accountability onto Chris in a way that's unfair to him. And why she can't bring herself to say, the decision I made to be alone in a room with someone else's husband, and the ways in which that could be perceived both onto him and onto me, that is what made me uncomfortable. I shouldn't have done that. I wish we hadn't made that decision collectively. And I don't get why she can't see the harm. You know what? I'm giving her too much. She see exactly what she's doing. What am I talking about? Moving on. She has no moral character compass. She has no character. There's no congruency between what she does and what she says. So I don't even know why I'm playing in Gizelle Bryant's face. But what I will say is, life is a really interesting teacher, and one of the other callers was correct. She has three beautiful girls, three absolutely beautiful brown skinned girls who favor her facially. They do not favor her by complexion.
No.
And their life experience is going to teach her something about colorism that she otherwise has been absolutely defiant and learning. Mia is a lion liar who lies. Like I said, she's a choncleta. She is a flip flopper. I want her off my screen. I'm done with her, because when you got more smoke from Wendy, who you actually harmed, than you have for Gizelle, who just accused you of a major crime, I don't know what to do with you, honey. You don't know who your enemy is. And like Candace said, you're not very smart. The thing that did piss me off that Candace did is, it is not your place to say they're not colorists. You can say, I don't experience them as colorists towards me, but I think by saying that, she let them off the hook way too early. And these Black women have said that every other societal issue that affects Black women shows up in their life, right? And they talk about it on this show. All these other things, social justice things that affect them in these small ways and in these mega ways. But we're supposed to believe that this other societal issue does not show up in your life and therefore does not show up in this show. This show is somehow an ecosystem that protects y'all from colorism but doesn't protect you from any of the other ills of being a Black woman. Play with somebody else, find you something safe to do. Last thing I will say is Wendy, I have I've actually, besides Garcelle in the Beverly Hills reunion, where I just felt so bad for how she had to tear her heart out to even have anybody have compassion for her. It was the same way I felt for Wendy last night because I'm like, this woman is basically having to do heart surgery on herself for y'all to feel an ounce of compassion for her. And that should not be necessary. Gizelle can sit up here and play in everybody's face, but she has one moment of pure vulnerability and everybody softens towards her immediately. And this woman has to cry. She has to beg. She has to plead. She has to tear her heart out and show every vulnerability and every scar. And Gizelle still had the audacity to sit her in her face and say, I don't care about you because I don't like you. It was one of the most horrible things I've ever seen on reality television. Honestly, I would rather watch Blueface and that girl on Zeus.
Shut up! Come on, no, oh, no, it ain't that bad. Damn,
baby, I really would. Last, I'm gonna say this, and I'm done. I'm absolutely done. The best part, the most fun part of this reunion has been Robyn reading herself via these flashbacks and fast forwards. It has been absolutely wonderful to see her be her own worst enemy, and I actually can't wait for the 30-minute interview because of that. Okay, I will talk to you tomorrow because Family Karma Wedding was absolutely beautiful. I cried, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Oh my goodness, yes, Miss Esquire. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.
All right, so we have quite a few people backstage that want to share their opinion, but we are going to put up our timer. I'll have my timer in front of me. You probably will hear the sound when the timer goes off. So everyone that's waiting to share your thoughts, you're going to have to do it in under a minute. You're going to have to do it in under a minute. Yes, Brenna, another great caller. Let me just say thank you. DGF, thank you so much for the super chat. DGF says Reese Colbert, Erica Savage, or Lori Daniel Favors of Sirius XM would be excellent moderators. All are well-versed in implicit bias and pop culture. All right, DGF. Thank you so much for that information. In my opinion, has a book suggestion. She says Kimberly Jade Norwood, Color Matters, Skin Tone Bias, and the Myth of a Post-Racial America, New Directions in American History is a must read. So I'm going to leave that up for a little bit so you guys can screenshot it, write it down, Google schmoogle it. And if anything, I'll post the link in the description after the live. All right, let me get to some more callers, guys. And if you haven't already, be sure to we already have over almost 2,800 people watching on multiple platforms. Shout out to everyone watching on TikTok. We appreciate you guys watching from behind the scenes. We were live last night watching the Real Housewives of Potomac and Family Karma together. So we had a lot of thoughts, and now we are recapping it here on YouTube. So TikTok, if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, be sure to subscribe. Everything is Kempire on YouTube and Kempire Radio, the YouTube channel for our podcast, and our new Shorts channel, Kempire Shorts. So be sure to subscribe to that as well. And thank you, Nightbot, for the reminder. Guys, our mods are really trying to delete all of the fake Kempires that show up in the comments. As a reminder, when I'm in the comment section, you will see a check mark next to my name. Please just report the fake Kempires. I'm not telling you to call me. I don't have time. You see, I'm on live for 2 hours. I am not telling you to call me. I don't want people that know me to call me. Or text me, to be honest with you. So just an FYI. just an FYI, okay? Just keep that in mind, all right? We are trying to keep up with deleting them. YouTube have been informed multiple times about these fake accounts that are constantly, incessantly in the comment section. All right, so Alex, I'm going to bring you up next, and then and no promise that I'm going to get to all the callers, but I'm going to put a timer on. Alex, go. Hey.
So I want to get a little more serious than I usually am. So I'm going to stay away from Robyn to the colorism part of the show, of this reunion.
Okay.
So starting with Robyn, she is so hypocritical, and I'm standing by what I said, that in watching her, and me and a lot of other people can't handle the hypocrisy, especially just so much hypocrisy in just 2 parts of a reunion, just 2 parts. And also I want to say that when she was saying that that everybody has the right to retaliate however they want, they gave no grace to Monique. And they painted her as this aggressive person, just like they're painting now Candace as this aggressive person. But the person who has had the most altercations on the show is Robyn. And it's just coming now that we're realizing that. And I think that also plays into the colorism part of the show, of the dynamics in the show. And I just want to say I'm Mexican and American, so I don't claim and I don't know the experiences of dark-skinned Black men and women. But in the Latino community, for example, blonde-haired Latinas and Latinos are favored over non-blonde-haired or blue-eyed or whatever Latinos in the Spanish entertainment industry. And I am blonde-haired, blue-eyed Latino person. So I acknowledge that I have privilege over those people. And it's sad that we even have privilege over other people in this day and age. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Alex, for sharing that. Thanks for calling in. Did you guys hear the timer? I just want to make sure because I have a little thing. Let me know in the chat if you guys could hear the timer. Asha. Oh, wait, not Asha. Sorry. Asha, you're next. But Maya, I'm going to bring you up next. Hold on. What's going on, Maya?
Hey, Kempire. How are you?
I'm well. How are you? Did you hear the timer?
Good. Yeah, I heard it.
Okay,
It was
awesome.
a little, yeah.
Okay.
I heard
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the colorism segment was just sad to watch, honestly. I think it was way too short. And Gizelle, I think it's just they're telling on themselves. You know what I mean? It's like you don't even have to it's just so bad. You know, Gizelle, her facial expressions and her challenging Candace and Robyn challenging Candace. At least Ashley, you know, she said, I acknowledge that I have privilege and I've had a problem with everybody and it's not because of the color of your skin. At least she acknowledged it. And even Karen, you know, she chimed in and they were at least helpful. Gizelle and Robyn are just they're just the worst. And I just feel like Gizelle is ruining the show. It's already becoming so cringy, this show, and so unwatchable. I feel like Bravo needs to stop protecting Gizelle. They really need to stop it because they put her on a pedestal and it's really just becoming really bad.
Okay.
And it's just unfortunate, really. I felt for Wendy. I really felt for her.
Maya, thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you.
Take care. All right. For those that think a minute is too short, well, if you want me to get to all the calls, here's what can happen. I can just take the next couple of callers and then no one gets a shot. I got things to do too, y'all. I'm not sitting up online. I have work to do myself and a dinner to cook. All right. Asha, I'm going to bring you up next. What's going on, Asha?
Hi, Kempire. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Okay, I'll be really quick because I am kind of sick, but I just have to say, Gizelle has to go. Like it's not entertaining for us to watch anymore. And you know, I'm a team Rent a Girl, but everybody wanted Rent to go for the quote unquote same things. Gizelle is worse. These embellishing sauce added to things, they're dangerous. And if I were Candace, we would have had to fight, but that's just me. And I really, the colorism section, even in that short period of time, you can tell how seriously Gizelle and Robyn took it. I mean, these are the same ladies that were laughing at the colorist accusations on the Sherry Shepherd show. How long ago? Not that long ago. It's a joke to them. And so I just hope that Gizelle's daughters never have to encounter in their future a woman like her, because it wasn't until I got to college that I really started to feel racism and colorism after I left. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Asha. Take care. Bye. All right. See how we're moving? Y'all? Okay. It's me, MK. I know this name. We're going to bring you up next. What's going on, MK?
Hi there. So my comment was basically about Wendy and her being an African in America, and I'm not starting any diaspora wars, people in the comment section. It just made me feel a certain way watching her because as an African, when I came to this country at 12, I experienced something different because back home it's tribalism, right? But coming here and be like, wait, we're all black, you're black, I'm black, but I am being treated less than because I'm African just felt weird. And seeing Wendy open up and cry and say that what they did was effed up, and no one batted an eyelash. No one said, oh my God, I'm sorry. Well, yeah, that kind of was messed up. And part of me just makes it felt like because maybe she was African, in addition to being a dark-skinned African, there's an additional little je ne sais
Bias.
quoi in there. Yeah, an additional bias. And Gizelle pointing and reaching across to point at her on the couch to say, well, I don't like her. It was just some extra something that I felt deep in my soul that was messed up. And Gizelle just needs a serious talking to from the executives that, hey, you cannot like someone, but this behavior is non-negotiable.
Wow.
That's it.
Thank you so much. Take care, MK. Do you guys realize why a moderator was necessary for this conversation on colorism? And of course, we understand that 20 minutes, even if they did 30 minutes, it's not going to be the end of this issue of colorism. However, you have a large audience saying that your show is triggering to them because of what's becoming very obvious to a lot of people. Okay. Nail, I'm going to bring you up next. Hold on. Hey, Nail.
Hi.
How are you?
Turning down in the back. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
I'm doing okay. Okay, so I'm gonna try to do this real fast because I know you gotta eat, and I'm actually eating right now. So
Rub it in.
No, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, so one, Gizelle. I'm sorry, gotta go. Just I don't even want to get on Gizelle, but it is triggering watching the show. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like Gizelle, not only is she a colorist, but she's also a mean girl. So for me, Gizelle, it's really hard to stomach the TV show with Gizelle on it. Like, it's very cringy. Like, Gizelle needs to go. They need to quit catering to her. Robyn, like, her true colors came out this season to me. Like, it for the longest, people have been trying to sort of kind of figure out Robyn. Now it's really coming to pass with her, like, basically telling on herself. This lady even tried to defend. Oh Lord, there goes the time.
Finish your thought.
Okay, she tried to try to defend, like, her being wrong, even when it was on camera. Even Ashley tried to defend her friend, even when it was on camera. When it came to Chris, it's like, even if the proof is in their face, they still have their mind is made up on the lies that they told.
Yeah.
So that's really all I have to say. And I really felt bad for Wendy. Like, that is heart-wrenching to see Wendy, like, be on an island by herself.
Yeah.
That's what Wendy is. She's on an island by herself.
Yeah. Now, thank you so much for calling in.
Mm-hmm.
Take care. All right. All right. We have quite a few people backstage. Again, guys, be very mindful of the timer. It's only a minute. So the most pressing issue that you want to talk about, and we can skip the niceties. I understand. I'm trying to get off of here. So you could just say, hey, Kempire, this is my thoughts. Okay. Simone, I'm going to bring you up next. What's going on, Simone?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Okay. Thank you. I can hear you. Thank you so much for having me on. Look, I want to jump right into it. The definition that Candace read about colorism, while that is a definition that is true, when speaking of the Black community, you also have to remember that featureism and colorism go hand in hand. One's ability to appear European-esque is part of colorism. Many people were saying that Gizelle didn't understand. She understood all too well. She simply doesn't have the character to acknowledge her privilege. She is a very European-esque woman, and she doesn't acknowledge that allows her things that it doesn't allow those who don't appear European-esque. She knows, she understands, she's in denial. And denying the truth is different than not knowing the truth.
Oh, okay. Simone, thank you so much.
No, thank you. I appreciate the quality work you put out.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Take care. And she did that in under a minute. Shout out to Simone and for the knowledge. Okay, all right. She's off. All right. All right, guys. If you're just joining us, we're talking about the part 2 of the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion. But if you're part of the replay crew, as always, we want to know where you're watching from, your thoughts on the reunion, and also how you would rate the reunion. Live chat. I know you voted in the poll, and based on the poll so far, let me look what the poll is saying. Look, what is the poll saying? The poll so far is saying, let me see. Ooh, 50% of you rated it between a 7 and a 10. 40% of you rated it between 4 and 6. Live chat, let me know how you rate the reunion individually. And I'll get into some more callers. Daquan is backstage. We're going to bring Daquan up next. Hold on. What's going on, Daquan?
Hey, Kempire, it's Duan, but that's totally fine.
Oh, sorry.
No,
sorry.
You're fine. I had with the this is a great episode. I still love Potomac, and I'm still gonna watch. Quickly though, my problem with Candace is that she participates in colorism as well, actively. I mean, she's called Ashley a house trollop, a bed wench, etc. And that plays into stereotypical tropes about mixed individuals as well. And I just don't think that's acceptable for her to, get on this high horse about colorism, but participate in it the same way. Additionally, it does disappoint me that, she has taken this high horse, particularly in this past season. A lot of the heat has been passed off to Gizelle and Robyn, rightfully so. But when they showed the flashback, what I thought was interesting was that when Monique was going through everything that she was going through, Candace was in the background just, I'm sorry, echoing for Gizelle and just advocating for Gizelle. And so now the tables are reversed and she's having to live through that. It's a very interesting season. And I think, the dichotomies between race and all of them, dealing with their personal interactions and growth. This has been a great season. So thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Juan. You could tell I'm starting to see things. I'm seeing a Q when there's a J. That means it's time for me to eat. All right, let's get to some more callers. Key, I'm going to bring you up next. What's going on, Key? Hold on. Oh, wait, hold on. Ooh, there we go.
So I definitely want to say that I felt like that stage wasn't the right time to actually talk about the colorism issue. I think Bravo is not really known for that, maybe more so OWN. Also, I feel like they should have supported Wendy and acknowledged Candace a whole lot better than they should have, than they did. But also acknowledge the fact that you really can't expect someone to have much sympathy for them if you hurt them deeply with your words. People will remember what you say to them, how that impacts them as well. So I feel like everyone has thrown rocks, but nobody really wants to remember that or take accountability for that and how they may have impacted others and how, they, I guess, feel. So, remember the impression that you make. And that's pretty much it. So I just hope that things get better. And I don't agree with Robyn and Gizelle. Their storylines, I feel like they could do better. I feel like they've half-assed this season, so they need to basically do better or replace. And that's it.
All right. Thanks, Keith, for calling in. All right. We're going to take these last 4 callers, and then I am getting out of here. Okay. All right. If you haven't liked the video already, be sure to like the video. If you haven't checked out the new podcast episode of Kempire Radio, be sure to check that out as well. That came out. It's called Thank You, Big Papa. A rant. Also, I dropped by Bravo We're Black podcast this week. So be sure to check that out as well. We talked about everything Bravo. So be sure to check that out. Also, what else did I do this week? Oh, I did another podcast, but I will talk more about that once it comes out. So stay tuned for that. All right. All right. Pris B, I'm going to bring you up next. What's going on, Pris B?
Hey, Kempire. So real quick, the Wendy situation, how they treated her just really irated me. It brought me back to the time when they did that to OG on Basketball Wives. And if Bravo doesn't be careful, they're going to end up, Gizelle's going to end up like Shawnee, hopefully, because it's teetering, because I'm seeing a lot of, they move the goalposts, not saying Candace's mouth. Yeah, I like Candace, but I don't agree with all the things she says, but they have called her out and held her to the fire for stuff she said and did. But then Ashley, Gizelle, Robyn, they get a little slap on the wrist. Yeah, she does. Her mouth can be a lot, and I get it. But why is she held to a certain standard that they're not? And she brought it up in season 6. So all I have to say is they need to be careful because people are seeing it now. And don't get me wrong, the colorism has been there since season 1 when the whole case. So that's all I have to say. They need to be careful because people are really going to tone out. And that's it.
Thank you, Pris B. And I feel as if people have been tuning out because that's one of the consistent comments that I see from a lot of people. And I mean, the ratings still are rating for them, but I've seen a lot of people saying that they just can't watch this cast anymore. It's interesting. Maya, I'm going to bring you up next. What's going on, Maya?
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I just wanted to say that, Candace, please don't talk about dwindling uteruses when you're currently going through fertility treatments, because if Gizelle had an ounce of wit, she could have came back and read you down. So you're lucky that she's slow and didn't. Second of all, I think that Gizelle needs to be honest. The fibroid story, every Black woman I know knows someone with fibroids or has them. She could have been open and honest about that and made that her journey instead of tearing down a man who's actually been kind to her. I know she's not used to it, but that was not the move. Robyn, you need to worry about the receipts that your husband's name is on and not anything else. I appreciated Karen stepping up and talking about her own personal history with owning the plantation and knowing about colorism intimately. Ashley, I feel like she needs to go to therapy to talk about her father issues and why she basically married her father. And overall, much, much love to Wendy. And I hope she has the support that she needs.
Yeah.
That's all.
Thanks, Maya. Take care. Okay. All right. We have Black Healer backstage. We have Amy backstage. We're going to bring them up in just a second. Let me just double check to make sure I have not missed anyone's super chat. I've just been doing a scan, guys. If I missed your super chat, I apologize. It's not intentional. I'm running a show, engineering a show, and hosting a show. Let me just make sure I got everyone. All right. I think I did. Awesome. Shout out to our King's Guards, guys. If you haven't already, as you can see, we're having a very riveting and long conversation about the Real Housewives of Potomac, but more importantly, conversation on colorism, a lot longer than they did on this reunion. However, we also determine how long we go. They don't. They have advertisers. They have a segment of time. However, they could definitely have done a better job. But anyways, I'm going to bring up Black Healer next. Hold on. What's going on, Black Healer?
Hello.
How are you?
This is my first time calling in, and I'm going to try to stay within the 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I had to say was about the colorism issue. I think it's very important that we define certain terms. And one of the things that is really frustrating to me is that colorism is based in racism. And racism is a part of America. It is the basis on which this country was built. And so when we have these discussions and we don't use the real word, we sort of kind of dilute the conversation.
Mm.
And they could have did much better on it. But I also think I wanted to highlight what Karen said was that these are ingrained, deep biases that we grow up with. Now, I do not get with the whole unconscious, because at some point you become woke, or you become
When someone points it out, like they've been doing.
Yes. So you become conscious. So I don't think everything is unconscious, but I do believe that it is ingrained and we do it out of habit, and you have to be very intentional to break those habits. And it's only one person on that stand, as much as she's hated, and I know my 1 minute has went off, so just give me just
Go ahead.
1 second.
Just go ahead.
One person on this stand that actually acknowledged her privilege was Ashley. She acknowledged that she's a light skin, she's biracial, and she has a certain privilege. And none of the other ladies, Gizelle and Robyn, who have a lot of privilege, is able to do it. And maybe they can't at this point in their lives. And if they can't, I feel sorry for their children. But that's it.
Thank you, Black Healer, for calling in.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care. All right. We're going to take one last caller. I love when we have these types of conversations, guys, because I have to say, look, I'm not for everyone, and some other creators are not for everyone. We have our communities. But I have to say, we got one of the best. I'm just saying, come on, our TikTok community, our YouTube community, our Twitter, our Twitch community, our Facebook community, come on. The conversation, I have to say, even if you don't agree with people, and here, we welcome everyone's opinions. Even if you don't agree with me, everyone's going to have a difference of opinion. We have to make it easier and more welcoming for people to have that difference of opinion, especially when we talk about issues of colorism. We don't want to shut people down from sharing their thoughts. And we also have to be willing to hear what people have to say. Especially as minorities, we of all people should be more open to hearing what people have to say. Again, I always say this quote. It's one of my favorites, though, by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., because I think about it in every instance of my life, especially when I'm making my own decisions and conversations and judgments. Wait, I forgot my quote. See, I'm hungry. All right, I forgot my quote. It's okay. But y'all know the quote. If you've been here before, you know the quote I'm talking about. Anyways, I can't think of it at this present moment. I'm going to bring up my last caller. All right? All right. Amy, I'm going to bring you up. What's going on, Amy?
Hey, you guys are going to be mad at me. I don't think it's colorism. I think colorism plays a part in the casting. But when it comes to the interaction, I just don't see it. And the only reason why is because this girl's name, Wendy and Candace have been very hard on them when they are in these arguments. And you kind of have to hold people accountable on both ends. And Wendy spoke negatively about Giselle's children and Juan, which is okay. But some of the stuff was a little unbearable, as well as Candace talking about uterus and everything else. I think when they're arguing, they don't realize that their words sting to the point where people will hold it against you. And yes, they throw out rumors, but it's a rumor and you combat it by letting it know that it's not true and fighting for your spouse. But the way they go about it is a little like daunting. And I support them. But at the end of the day, the accountability is you might lose friends when you're arguing and fighting and you go under the boat. So I feel like with those two, the two friends, the Green Eye Bandits, they hold people accountable in a way that we don't see why, because we look at it for the show to go on and have some harmony in the cast. We should let things go, but some things are a little hard to let go. That's why I look at it.
Okay. All right, Amy. Thank you so much for calling in.
All right. Have a nice one.
You too. All right. All right. Let me switch out. Again, guys. Everyone. Wait, did I remember the quote yet? Nope. I'm hungry. I'll remember it tomorrow, but shout out to my Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Oh, wait. A threat to justice. Wait, no. Oh, damn it. Look, I got to look it up while we're live. I can't. I don't know why it's not coming to me. It's like my favorite quote. And y'all know I say it all the time. And nobody in the chat brought it up. Oh, there we go. And injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Okay? And I think about this quote all the time because it's not just, this quote from Dr. King is not just about race. It's not just about race. It's about having an open mind when we are talking about things like this. Hold on, let me take this down. Why is this coming up? Hold on, y'all. Hold on. There we go. Thank you. Lord, it's time for me to eat. Look, it's time for me to eat. Next week is the finale of season 7 for the Real Housewives of Potomac. It will be our final recap of this season. So I know you all will show out and show up for it because you did tonight. Thank you. We had over 1,000, not 1,000. We had more than 1,000. We had over 3,000 people watching on multiple platforms. And shout out to all of you that have been watching on TikTok for these last 2.5 hours of talking. All right. For those that are looking for the call-in link, I'm not taking any more calls. I'm done. Okay. I'm going to eat something right now. All right. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to our King's Guards, a.k.a. our moderators. We could not do this without you. Nikes, thank you so much for this comment. Kempire, you have created a safe place and platform for everyone to express themselves. Yes. Thank you. Thank you to our members of the channel who on a monthly basis support us so we're able to create content without worrying about likes and views and all that other stuff. But we enjoy that because engagement is important. It lets YouTube and the algorithm know that you enjoy what you're watching. So be sure to like the video if you haven't already. Be sure to watch our videos from beginning to end because I try to entertain you from beginning to end. So watch the video. All right. Janice says Kempire should eat before the show. Who says that I don't? I did. 2.5 hours later, my metabolism is metabolizing. Okay, I'm ready to eat again. Come on. But in all honesty, I also don't eat heavily before a live because then y'all be like, he got the itis on live. Cammy, it's okay. You don't have to send super chats. We appreciate you. And I do try to catch the comments, but when we have 3,000 people, it's kind of hard to catch all the comments. So thank you. We appreciate your support. All right. Okay, let me take this. There we go. All right. As always, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. You're getting content not just about reality TV. We are covering a variety of topics from reality TV recaps, and pop culture news. Be sure to check out everything that you missed this past week in regards to that. Don't forget, tomorrow we will be live at 12:30 p.m. Eastern for our Tuesday takeover, where we will be covering Love and Marriage DC, Below Deck, 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way, that beautiful finale of Family Karma. I still want a reunion, but it was so beautifully done. We'll be talking about all that and some pop culture news tomorrow during our Tuesday takeover at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 a.m. PST. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to our mods for being here. This is a long one, so I appreciate you all sticking it out on multiple platforms and making this a safe space for everyone. Everyone have a great rest of your day. We're going to get out of here with some music like we usually do. Run up the likes if you haven't liked the video already. We're going to get out of here. Oh, before we go, because I know you guys will still hit me up no matter what. I get it. Not everyone's watching at the same time. There is this story out there about Juan Dixon and this other woman, not the one that we reported on. There was another one. I don't feel as if there is any smoke with this particular person. So don't expect a full report from me unless something comes out that is more concrete. For me, the receipt wasn't receipting, hence why I didn't report on it when it was sent to me. Just saying. So I wanted to let you guys know. And for those that are wondering what the name of the artwork in the back, it's called Melanin Lisa. Like Mona Lisa? Melanin Lisa. Yes. All right, y'all. Have a great rest of your day. I will see you all tomorrow or in the next video. Have a good night. Let's get out of here.
You both got my best life, yeah. You both got my best life, yeah. Something you and me, oh. You both got my best life, yeah. Jumping, flexing, I know. I just want you to know. Something you and me, oh. You both got my best life, yeah. You both got my best life, yeah. You both got my best life, yeah. Something you and me, oh. You both got my best life, yeah. Jumping, flexing, I know. I just want you to know. Something you and me, oh. You both got my best life, yeah. You both got my best life, yeah. You both got my best life, yeah. Something you and me, oh. You both got my best life, yeah. You both got my best life.